Chapter 422. 5,000 years ago, Tsangyue continent was a famous high-level cultivation planet. The 5 celestial sovereigns led by the Flame Immortal made a name for Tsangyue continent in the inner and outer realms. Even the savage races in the outer realms didn't dare to offend the cultivators of Tsangyue continent. At that time, no one thought that Tsangyue continent would almost be destroyed overnight. That day was the day that the Flame Immortal's Tao partner, Jinghong Fairy, was about to give birth. This was supposed to be a happy day. The other 4 celestial sovereigns brought their disciples and a large amount of gifts to the Flame Immortal's cave to congratulate him. Hongyu, I'm so nervous. Are you nervous? At this moment, Su Qin, who was pregnant, pursed her lips and looked at Hongyu behind her. Like Su Qin, Hongyu was also about to give birth. However, Hongyu was a plum blossom immortal. Their method of giving birth was different from human cultivators. I'm not nervous. Sister Qin, you don't have to be nervous either. Hongyu smiled and held Su Qin's hand. The Flame Immortal's famous technique was the Hellfire Red Lotus. He also loved red. At this moment, the entire cave was a festive red. Hongyu and Su Qin were both wearing bright red dresses. Red was the color of celebration and also the color of blood. Su Qin lowered her eyelids and subconsciously raised her hand to touch her belly. Mother is really scared. As a mission enforcer, it was impossible to have children in the mission world. But now, Su Qin was going against the heavens because she loved Lai Yan too much. She knew that Lai Yan was stubborn and extreme. He definitely wouldn't be willing to return to the lost time-space with her to be a mission enforcer. A child might be the best gift she could leave for him. In the years they had been together, Lai Yan had always hoped to have a child. In order to fulfill her lover's wish, Su Qin was prepared to die this time. It was said that love made people blind. Su Qin was once the most outstanding mission enforcer in the lost time-space, but she still gave up everything for the word love. When waves of abdominal pain came, she felt that the child was about to be born. The entire sky was covered by dark clouds. This was the heavenly punishment. Countless bolts of lightning shook the heavens. Qin. Lai Yan carried Su Qin out of the cave abode. He used his own spirit qi to prop up a spirit qi shield. Other than Hongyu, who was serving Su Qin, everyone else was left outside the spirit qi shield. Lai Yan, the child, you must protect the child. Su Qin grabbed Lai Yan's hand with a pale face. At this time, she already felt her soul being pulled by an invisible force. That force wanted to pull her soul out of her body. No, Qin, I only want you. I can't live without you. Although Lai Yan had always wanted a child with Su Qin, the person he cared about the most was Su Qin. He would rather not have this child than protect her. In order to protect Su Qin, Lai Yan didn't hesitate to go against the heavenly axiom. However, the heavenly axiom was the will of the world. No matter how strong Lai Yan was, he wouldn't be his match. Just as Su Qin was in danger, a figure suddenly broke through the air. Qin, I'll bring you back. The man who suddenly appeared had an extremely terrifying aura around him. Qiyu, save him. Save Su. Su Qin grabbed Qiyu's hand tightly. Only then did Qiyu realize that Su Qin had already given birth. It was a boy. The moment the child was born, it attracted countless bolts of lightning. Qiyu, save him. Save him. Su Qin was already sobbing. Looking at the heavily injured Lai Yan and the dying Su Qin in his arms, Qiyu couldn't help but lower his eyes. At this moment, he should have brought Su Qin back to the headquarters, but that child, in the end, Qiyu still made a move. The boss of the lost time space was naturally extraordinary once he made a move. The heavenly axioms was repelled by Chi Yu. Su Su survived, but Chi Yu was heavily injured. Su Qin's life was hanging by a thread. At this moment, Lai Yan wanted to rush over despite his injuries, but Chi Yu hugged Su Qin and took a step back. She doesn't belong here. I'm going to bring her back. Actually, Chi Yu knew better than anyone that in order to give birth to this child, Su Qin had used up all of her soul power. Although her body wasn't injured, her soul was almost exhausted. She wouldn't live past today. Child, Lian, Su Qin wanted to say something but Lian's expression suddenly changed. Qin don't go. If you leave, I'll strangle him to death. As he spoke, Lian wanted to snatch the child that Hongyu was carrying. Celestial Supreme. Hongyu jumped in fright. As a mother, she instinctively dodged. In the next moment, the child in her arms was also snatched away by Chi Yu. A selfish person like you doesn't deserve to have Qin's descendant. As Chi Yu spoke, he opened the time-space tunnel again. You're not allowed to leave. Seeing that Chi Yu wanted to take away his wife and son, Lian's gaze immediately turned fierce. No one can snatch Qin from me, no one. In the end, Lian chose to self-destruct. He wanted to die with everyone. However, Chi Yu, who saw through his intentions, had already left with Su Qin and Su Su. Hongyu knew that she probably couldn't escape the explosion of the Celestial Supreme. At the last moment, she used all of her powers to turn her unborn daughter into a seed and threw it out of the boundary. Later on, the Flame Immortal's self-destruction caused a spirit energy storm that broke through his own spirit energy barrier and alerted the other 4 immortal sovereigns. In order to protect Sangyue mainland, the 4 immortal sovereigns worked together to seal that area, forming a small world. Everyone thought that the Flame Immortal died in that explosion. But 2,000 years later, Bei, who was in Wanyao Mountain, suddenly heard the Flame Immortal's call. He told him to find his descendant and then open the seal in the small world. As it turned out, after the explosion, the Flame Immortal left behind a wisp of his primordial spirit. At that moment, he recovered his consciousness. Therefore, at the last moment, he used his primordial spirit to protect Hongyu's body. The two sunk underground. The Flame Immortal opened this underground palace. He even set up a blood sacrifice seal for himself. Only his descendant could open the sealed door. He always firmly believed that Qin would come back and bring his child back. But now, 5,000 years had passed. His and Qin's child was standing in front of him, but Qin couldn't come back anymore. Su Wan and Su Su's expressions kept changing listening to Hongyu's narration. Looking at Lian, Su Wan thought of her past self. What I can't get, I'll destroy. Even if I have to die together with him. At that time, Su Wan always thought that love was possession. Only by possessing and holding on tightly would it be the most real. But now, Su Wan taught her that loving someone could be silently sacrificed without asking for anything in return. Giving without complaint or regret, endless tolerance and understanding, this was true love. Su Qin met Lian and fell in love with him. Sacrificing everything for him. Was it worth it? Mother's soul dried up in order to give birth to me, so she died. Su Su suddenly took a step forward and looked at Lian. She must have left because she knew she didn't have long to live. She didn't want you to be sad, so she left. Though his emotions and desires were sealed, Su Su could faintly guess his mother's thoughts. This was a pure woman's most sincere wish. She hoped that the person she loved could continue living happily. Even if he hated her, at least he could live happily. Qin, hearing Su Su's words, Lian immediately understood Su Qin's thoughts that day. Unfortunately, it was too late. Qin, Qin, Lai Yan looked at the golden bracelet in his hand, his gaze filled with pain. Qin, don't worry. I've already seen Su, He's great. I'll remove the seal for him. I'll make him happy. Liayan's gaze turned complicated. He looked deeply at Su Wan. You're Su's sweetheart. Su Wan froze hearing Liayan's words. Not her. Su took a step back, faintly protecting Su Wan behind him. She's just my friend. Ha! Liayan smiled. Su, what are you nervous about? Your emotions and desires have been sealed, but you're still on this little demon's side. This means that she's in your heart, unforgettable. Unforgettable, Su was in a daze. Su Wan's expression also changed. She didn't want to believe it, but she knew that Liayan was right. Su treated her differently compared to other people. She should have known from the time he reached out to her. But at that time, Su Wan didn't understand love at all. Her hatred for Su blinded her eyes, causing the two to miss each other. But in love, once they missed each other, it would be for a lifetime. Since you two like each other, you can give this bracelet to her. I can also make a set of magic weapons for her as a congratulatory gift. Seeing that Su and Su Wan were silent, Liayan smiled and tossed the golden bracelet into Su Wan's hands. I can't take it. Su Wan pushed the bracelet into Su's hands. Su, I can't take it. You know that. Su smiled and clenched his hands. He knew that she didn't love him anymore. He knew this a long time ago. Girl, what did you say? Liayan's expression darkened seeing that Su Wan rejected Su. You don't like Su, I already have someone I love. Su is great. Really, I used to, Su Wan smiled bitterly. We're fated but not fated. Love can't be forced. Senior, do you still not understand? Liayan, who had an extreme temperament, heard the news of his wife's death and then saw Su Wan refuse to be with his son. His aura immediately became irritable. Be with Su, or die. Choose for yourself. Saying this, the flame immortal turned into a red afterimage and charged at Su Wan. Careful. Su subconsciously wanted to stop him, but he was frozen in place by the flame immortal spacetime laws. Time stopped. At this moment, only the flame immortal could move freely in the underground palace. Seeing that his hand was about to grab Su Wan's neck, a silver light suddenly pierced through the air. This is... The flame immortal paused, looking at the white figure floating over in shock. Other than the owner of the domain, only one race could ignore the time laws and move freely in the domain. Chapter 423. You're a descendant of the Devouring Soul clan. The flame immortal looked at the man dressed in white, his gaze turning colder and more complicated. The Devouring Soul clan was one of the ancient barbarian clans. They were favored by the heavens. From the moment they were born, they had an unparalleled soul talent. Moreover, all the adult Devouring Soul clan members could see through a person's soul regardless of their cultivation. They could even devour the souls of people with lower cultivation to increase their own cultivation. In the barbarian region, the Devouring Soul clan was an existence that other races were afraid of. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Devouring Soul clan was betrayed by their allies. The entire clan was almost annihilated. The descendants of the Devouring Soul clan, who managed to escape death, stepped into the void and came to Tsangyue mainland, living incognito. Later, the cultivators of Tsangyue mainland discovered the Devouring Soul clan's traces. They started a crazy hunt. Everyone wanted to obtain the descendants of the Devouring Soul clan and their innate abilities. As time passed, the Devouring Soul clan disappeared from Tsangyue mainland. The Flame Immortal thought that the Devouring Soul clan had been annihilated. He didn't expect to meet the descendants of the Devouring Soul clan in Tsangyue mainland. Right now, Su Rui slowly walked in front of Su Wan. He looked at the man who looked similar to Su Su. So you're the Flame Immortal. At this time, Su Rui had already recovered his memory. Even seeing the situation in front of him, he had already guessed the cause and effect of the matter. The Flame Immortal's gaze flickered seeing Su Rui's actions. Are you this girl's sweetheart? I'm not her sweetheart. I'm her man. Su Rui took a step forward. Poisonous mist surrounded him. If a man can't even protect his own woman, then he doesn't deserve to be called a man. This sentence could be said to have pierced the heart. Su Rui was expressing his standpoint and mocking the Flame Immortal's uselessness. Brat, you're courting death. The Flame Immortal was angered by Su Rui. His attack instantly arrived in front of Su Rui. Thank you for your guidance. Su Rui lifted his hand and released his unique poisonous gas. The two of them started fighting. Although the Flame Immortal was an immortal who had broken through the Tribulation realm, he was formed from a wisp of his primordial spirit after all. His cultivation was naturally greatly reduced. But even so, his cultivation was still higher than Su Rui's. Plus, the Flame Immortal had been fighting in Tsangyue mainland for thousands of years. Countless cultivators had died in his hands. Whether it was in terms of aura or adaptability, the Flame Immortal was slightly better. Soon, Su Rui's face paled. He had never encountered such a powerful opponent. However, so what if he was strong? Facing the Flame Immortal's aggressive attacks, Su Rui didn't retreat but advanced instead. He crazily used his spiritual chi. Kid, you're not bad. Unfortunately, you're no match for me. The Flame Immortal looked at Su Rui in admiration. I admire you. As long as you're willing to leave, I'll let you go. I'll even help you keep your identity a secret. No need. Su Rui stood up and wiped the blood from his lips. I've said it before. I can protect my woman. Not to mention Senior Immortal, even if the Heavenly Tao wants to snatch her from my hands, I will also slay the Heavenly Tao. Saying this, Su Rui's long hair started fluttering. Just like Xian Yuanshi, his black hair instantly turned silver. This was, are you crazy? Feeling Su Rui's spiritual power and cultivation increasing rapidly, the Flame Immortal's expression couldn't help but change. You're overdrafting your soul power. So what if you defeat me today? If you die here, this girl will become someone else's. Even if I die, I will protect my woman. Furthermore, she is my woman. I believe in her. Even if I were to die, she would still find a way to find me. Death was never the end. Love would never disappear because of death. Even in death, love couldn't be broken. The Flame Immortal froze. Su Qin's words flashed through his mind. Su Qin's words from many years ago suddenly flashed through his mind. Li Yan, if I disappear one day, will you look for me? Search one world after another. Perhaps I'm hiding in a corner of time and space, waiting for you all this time. At that time, hearing her words, Li Yan just smiled and pulled her into his arms. How could you disappear? I won't let you disappear from my life unless I die. Her words were still ringing in his ears. Actually, Su Qin had thought about the future and her separation with Li Yan. After all, she had always been a mission enforcer in the lost time space. But at the time, Li Yan didn't understand Su Qin's words. Even after Su Qin left with Qiyu, he didn't understand his lover's heart. But now, hearing Su Rui's words, Li Yan suddenly understood. In the blink of an eye, all the red lotuses on the ground withered, and the originally still time began to flow again. Su Rui. Su Wan immediately pounced on Su Rui. She lifted her hand and imbued her spiritual power into Su Rui's body. Seeing her anxious red eyes, Su Rui couldn't help but smile. Wife, don't be nervous. The devouring soul clan's soul power is really strong. Plus, I can devour other people's souls to make up for my shortcomings. So, don't worry. Be good. Seeing that Su Rui was smiling so happily, Su Wan bit his shoulder anxiously and angrily. Don't mess around in the future, okay? Oh, I know. Su Rui nodded at Su Wan. But whether or not General Su listened to his wife's words, this really needed to be investigated. Though he knew that it didn't matter even if he died in this world as long as he could protect his soul, Su Rui still used the most intense method to protect Su Wan. No choice. He couldn't help it. It's my fault. I was wrong. The flame immortal's body started to fade. His primordial spirit's power was slowly dissipating. Where are you? I'll go find you, okay? As the saying goes, it's enough to hear the truth in the morning and die in the evening. In the moment of enlightenment, the flame immortal let go of everything and saw through life and death. Death wasn't the end. Therefore, I will find you. I will. Seeing the flame immortal's figure gradually disappear, Su Wan and Su Rui sighed. Back then, they had even discussed about Su Qin. Back then, who would have thought that they would enter this world today? Not only did they learn the truth from back then, but they also personally saw the flame immortal disappear. Of course, Su Su surprised Su Rui the most. He didn't expect Su Su to be that child, master. Bai Yi had a sorrowful look on his face as he watched the red dots of light dissipate. Bai Yi, the flame immortal, went to find Sister Qin. He will find her. He definitely will. Hong Yu held her husband's hand tightly. Bai Yi, let's leave too. Take me to see little Plum Blossom. I miss her. Okay. Bai Yi nodded. Young master, Shao Shi, will be leaving first. This small world would only open its door after 2 months. But to Bai Yi, as long as he wanted to leave, he would have a way. They've all left. What about you? Su Su turned slightly to look at the girl in black next to him. Xian Yuanshi looked up at Su Su with her clear eyes. Wherever you are, I'll be there. Hearing her words, Su Su smiled. All right, if you like it, then follow me. But I really can't give you anything. It's okay. Xian Yuanshi looked at Su Su and then at the affectionate Su Wan and Su Rui. She was envious of the two. Young master, you're actually really lonely, right? But don't be sad. From now on, you won't be lonely anymore. Shao Shi will accompany you forever. Chapter 424. After the flame immortal disappeared, the underground palace also started collapsing. Su Rui, Su Wan, Su Su, and Xian Yuanshi all flew out of the underground palace. The sunlight outside was just nice. The four automatically split into 2 sides. Su Su looked at Su Rui and then at Su Wan. Since you guys recovered your memories, Su Rui, what do you want to do? Su Rui held onto Su Wan's shoulders. Cough. I've already sensed Qin Yu and Lin Ruo's auras. They're together. How about we go kill them first? Changing the topic, General Su, you're really smart. Su Su nodded. Okay, let's work together for now. Su Wan, what do you think? Okay. Su Wan narrowed her eyes and smiled. Boss Su, you guys have the advantage in numbers. Even if I don't join hands with you guys can still defeat the Rebirth Division. I'll just cheer you guys on from the side. Su-won knew that she couldn't beat Su-su. Right now, he had Xian Yuanshi, the mini-boss, by his side. Plus, the Demon Emperor, Bai Yi, could come as reinforcements at any time. Damn. Did he use the male lead's cheat? How could the original male lead, Hanyu, endure this? Now that Su-won had let go of the knot in her heart, she could finally face Su-su calmly. Su-su couldn't help but smile. That's fine. You don't need to do anything. Cheer for your man. Su-won was speechless. Boss Su, you're so cunning. You put me in your camp with just one sentence. Wife, be good. Hearing Su-su's words, Su-rui smiled and tightened his grip. He leaned against Su-won's ear and whispered, Wife, after we get rid of our opponents, let's talk about life. Ha. Su-won pouted. If they got rid of the Rebirth Department, wouldn't she and Yi Axean be the only ones left? How should they fight? Should they play rock, paper, scissors? Forget it. Let's not worry about this for now. Let's go. The group immediately set off following Su-su's order. At this moment, somewhere in the small world, Qin Yu and Lin Ruo were advancing slowly with Yun Xian. Senior brother Qingzhou, I'm really tired. Let's rest for a while. Yun Xian looked at the two people standing side by side in front of her. She pouted her lips and muttered tiredly. All right. Qin Yu could not help but stop. Boss. Lin Ruo was stunned. She looked at Yun Xian, who was behind the two of them. Actually, they didn't walk very far. With Yun Xian's cultivation and spiritual power, she wouldn't feel tired at all. She purposely stopped to rest. Her goal was probably to prevent him from getting too close to boss. Lin Ruo felt that she had discovered a huge secret. Xian, are you alright? At this time, Qin Yu came to Yun Xian's side and looked at her gently. Not bad, not bad. Yun Xian said while giving Qin Yu a look, Senior brother, come over. I have something to tell you. Qin Yu looked at Yun Xian in confusion. He hesitated before bending over her. You're being so mysterious. What do you want to say? Senior brother, I think that Lady Ziyi from Ziyang's sect is really weird. She has a murderous aura and doesn't seem like a righteous person. Don't be fooled by her. Yun Xian couldn't help but glare at Ziyi. Though she lowered her voice, cultivators had sharp ears. She was purposely saying it for Ziyi to hear. This girl. Qin Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xian don't worry. Ziyi is really reliable. If anything happens, you have to believe her. Okay. Really? Yun Xian was still looking at Ziyi suspiciously. At this time, Ziyi's expression suddenly changed. She turned and looked at Qin Yu solemnly. Boss, they're here. This time, Su-su didn't hide his identity. Sensing the familiar ghost aura, Lin Ruo knew that person was here. Not long later, Su-su and Su-rui appeared in front of the three people. The two sides faced each other. Qin Yu looked at Su-su and then at Su-rui and Su-won. In the end, his gaze landed on Xian Yuanshi. 4 people. She couldn't be Yi Axean, right? What? You guys formed an alliance. Yi Axean, this doesn't seem like your personality. Qin Yu probed. Xian Yuanshi stood coldly behind Su-su, ignoring Qin Yu's words. Ahem. Qin Yu coughed a few times and then looked at Su-won. Xiao-won, you recovered your memory. Ha! Su Wan laughed dryly at Qin Yu and grabbed Su Rui's arm. She turned and smiled at the man next to her. Master, it's this Duga Qingzhou again. He's so annoying. Anyways, there's no one here. Why don't we kill him? Qin Yu was speechless. Pretending not to know him. Okay. Su Wan, you're good. You can. You're shameless. Su Rui, wife, you did well. Qin He, since you said so. Su Rui lifted his hand and a black poisonous gas gathered in his palm. Hey, don't mess around. We're Tian Yun sect's disciples. Yun Xian immediately shouted. The moment she shouted, Qin Yu and Lin Ruo had already taken action. Sneak attack. Who's the shameless one here? Very quickly, the six of them started fighting. However, there was a huge disparity in strength between them. Su Wan transformed into a small stool and sat on the ground, watching. Su Rui and Su Su's cultivation was on par with Qin Yu's, but it was clear that Lin Ruo and Yun Xian's cultivation was slightly lower. As for Xian Yuanshi, she was on another level. Her attacks were fatal. There was nothing to see in this battle. Su Wan couldn't help but narrow her eyes seeing Qin Yu get knocked down by Su Su and Su Rui. Senior brother. At this time, Yun Xian also landed on the ground with Qin Yu. Because she was the female lead, not many people paid attention to her. On the other hand, Lin Ruo was attacked by 3 people at once. She was killed instantly. Lin Ruo. Qin Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. Hearing the notification in his head, he knew that Lin Ruo had been eliminated. Qin Yu's hand couldn't help but touch his storage bag. He took out the 9-leaf Bodhi fruit that Yun Xian gave him a while ago. This was a life-saving item. As long as he recovered, he could. Qin Yu ate the 9-leaf Bodhi fruit without hesitation. Then, he took out a scroll from his bosom with a smile. This was a fixed teleportation scroll. It was a magic artifact that could teleport people back to Tianyun's sect from the small world. His master had specially given this to him before he came here. 3 days ago, Heavenly Z had successfully cultivated his heavenly plant to the highest level. He finally figured out that the 2 people in chaos were Yi Qing and Master Mo, the descendant of the Flame Immortal and the Spirit-Devouring clan. No matter which one of them it was, once their identities were known, it would definitely cause a bloodbath on the mainland. It might even attract forces from other regions to join in. For the people of Tsangyue mainland, Heavenly Z had contacted the sect leaders and elders of other sections. He planned on using his entire cultivation to coordinate with Dugu Qingzhou and get rid of the 2 together. After eating the 9-leaf Bodhi fruit, Qin Yu slowly stood up. He lifted his hand and crushed the communication jade talisman Heavenly Z gave him. This was a signal to the outside world. Xian prepare the scroll. Let's. Before he could finish, Qin Yu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Then his face turned incomparably pale. This was, I'm spitting blood. Right at this time, Su Wan, who was watching from afar, suddenly appeared in front of Qin Yu in a flash and easily snatched the scroll from Qin Yu's hand. This is a good thing, You guys, Qin Yu's gaze changed and he looked at Yun Xian, Yi Axian. Oh. Yun Xian blinked and opened the scroll in her hand. Senior brother, rest in peace. Yun Xian was Yi Axian. What was character? She found out that she was one of the female leads of this world right after entering the mission. This was character. Yun Xian's identity was mysterious. She came from a famous cultivation family in the outer region. The family leader brought Yun Xian to Tsangyue mainland for Heavenly Z to raise in order to help her escape something. In order to hide her identity, Yun Xian brought along a magic treasure that could hide her aura. The aura of people from the outer region was different from Tsangyue mainland. Plus, Yun Xian had many magic treasures on her and she was a powerful female lead. Therefore, even Su Wan couldn't sense her aura. Ever since she found out her identity, Yi Xian had been playing Yun Xian's role conscientiously until she met Su Wan that day. Actually, when Su Wan revealed her original form that day, Yi Xian had recognized her after seeing the golden pattern on her snake body. This was Su Wan's special mark. Before entering the mission, she and Ding Jijia had repeatedly confirmed that the golden tattoo on Su Wan's body would always follow her. No matter who she changed into, it would not disappear. Moreover, it was an imprint from Su Wan's soul. It also eliminated the possibility of being possessed by others. Therefore, after Yi Xian confirmed Su Wan's identity, she had secretly contacted Su Wan. But she knew Su Wan's abilities, so she had been very careful and rarely came into contact with Su Wan. Even in Xiaoguang town, she purposely acted in front of everyone to make Su Wan and Qin Yu think that she was biased against Su Wan. This way, no one would suspect her identity anymore. As for the 9-leaf Bodhi fruit she gave Qin Yu, cough. It was indeed a rare treasure from the outer region, but it wasn't a 9-leaf Bodhi fruit that could heal injuries. It was a deadly poisonous fruit. Sigh. Life was like a play. It all depended on acting skills. Yi Xian, Su Wan. At this time, Su Su and Su Rui flew down from the sky. Yi Xian had already opened her location scroll. Sorry, see you when we get back. Saying this, Yi Xian's figure became blurry. Xiao Wan, why are you in a daze? Hurry. Seeing that Su Wan didn't move, Yi Xian couldn't help but urge her. At this time, the entire small world was starting to crumble. As expected, Heavenly Z and the others had started taking action and the small world was about to be destroyed. Forget about Su Su and Su Wan, even someone as powerful as Xian Yuanshi couldn't do anything at this time. Xiao Wan. Yi Xian called Su Wan again. Oh. Su Wan responded. She lifted her hand and also opened the scroll she snatched from Qin Yu's hands. Lost Time Space, Headquarters Mission Hall. Damn you. Qin Yu came out of his mission-linked cabin and couldn't help but curse. He was tricked by Yi Xian. They had been together for so many years but he didn't notice any flaws at all. Boss. Lin Ruo had come out earlier than Qin Yu and stood next to him. Boss, what's the result? What else could it be? Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. Before he died, he saw Yi Xian and Su Wan open their location scroll. As long as they left, they would win. Sigh. He had made arrangements in Tianyun's sect for so many years but in the end, Yi Xian robbed him. Nanny. This was his only chance to defeat Su Su. However, Su Su still lost this time. Qin Yu didn't know what expression he should make towards Lin Ruo. At this time, all the mission enforcers in the hall heard a voice from the headquarters communicator. Test ended. Test ended. Last survivor, Restoration Department, Su Wan. Last victorious department, Restoration Department. Chapter 425. The voice announcing the Restoration Department's victory continued to echo in the hall. What's going on? Qin Yu froze and subconsciously glanced at the connecting cabin between the Restoration Department and the Destruction Department. Su Wan and Su Su just happened to come out of the connecting cabin and the two bumped into each other. Su Wan smiled at Su Su. Congratulations. Same. Su Su nodded at Su Wan. He didn't need to say anything. Qin Yu was speechless. Nanny. What are you guys doing with such chemistry? At this time, the destruction department's last cabin door also opened. Yi Axian walked out indifferently. Leader, Su-won took a step forward and looked at Yi Axian, wanting to say something but hesitating. It's fine. Yi Axian shook her head. Thinking of what Su Rui had said to her before she died, Yi Axian smiled in relief. Congratulations to you guys. Thank you. Su-won smiled and nodded. In the mission world, she didn't use the teleportation wool herself after opening it. Instead, she tossed it to Su Rui. At that moment, Su-won didn't say anything. Su Rui just smiled at her silently. There was no need for words between the two of them. Seeing Yi Axian and Su Rui's figures disappear, Su couldn't help but say to Su-won faintly, I'm suddenly a bit jealous of you guys. That's a good thing. At least you learned another emotion. Su-won winked at Su and then looked at Xian Yuanshi, who was still following Su closely. Su, we're going back. Xiao Shi, what should we do? Young master, don't leave me behind. Xian Yuanshi heard their conversation and knew that they were going back to that strange world. She couldn't help but grab Su's hand tightly in her panic. The young girl's hand was strangely cold. Su looked at the person beside him. Xiao Shi, if you go back with me, you'll be bound to the lost time-space and become a mission enforcer. Are you really willing? I am. Seeing Xian Yuanshi's determined expression, Su nodded. Okay, I'll take you back, but we're in the trial hall right now. If you go back with me, you'll be teleported to the restoration department. You have to wait for me there and don't leave, okay? Yes. Hearing Su's words, Xian Yuanshi nodded like a chick pecking at rice. She didn't know what the lost time-space was, nor did she know what Su was talking about. However, these weren't important. The important thing was that he was willing to take her away. From then on, to the ends of the earth, a moment later, the small world completely collapsed, and the souls of the three people disappeared. At this time, Yi Axian returned to the Tianyun sect. Before she could react, Su Rui's figure had already followed her. It had to be said that Su Rui's movements were really too fast, so fast that Yi Axian didn't have any chance to counterattack. One-hit kill. What was the meaning of the mantis stalking the cicada unaware of the oriole behind? Yi Axian finally saw it today. Su-won, you're really something. Yi Axian, thank you for your help. Su Rui's cold voice rang in Yi Axian's ears. Before she completely lost consciousness, Yi Axian finally understood the meaning of Su Rui's words. Su-won, you're so blessed. You and Su Rui really make people envious. Many people spend their entire lives searching for a partner, but they still can't find a partner that they can devote their whole heart and soul to. But Su-won was able to meet Su Rui in the vast sea of people. Wasn't this also a type of heaven-defying luck? After the trial ended, the people from each department naturally went back to their own homes. After everyone left the headquarters, Su went to the top floor of the headquarters alone. That was the big boss room. You're back. Hearing Su's footsteps, the man in the room quietly turned around. It was Chi-yu. It was clearly that familiar face, but at this moment, the pressure and aura on his body caused people to shrink back. You know everything. Chi-yu took a step forward and looked at Su's eyes with a dignified gaze. Do you need me to remove the seal for you? Chi-yu saw everything that happened in the trial world. Back then, he did seal Su's emotions and desires in a fit of anger because of Su Qin's death. This wasn't taking it out on him, but loving the house and its crow. In the past, Su Qin was the most outstanding female mission enforcer in the lost time-space, but the word love ruined her entire life. Chi-yu looked down on the flame. He felt that he wasn't worthy of Qin. Qin died. She died because of that so-called love. In order to prevent the same thing from happening again, Chiyuk sealed Susu's emotions and desires. Without love, there wouldn't be pain. Without love, there wouldn't be pain. Yes, Chiyu had always thought this way. But after seeing Susu's performance in the trial and seeing their relationship, not only did the Flame Immortal understand, but Chiyu was also moved. So the purest feelings in the world were trust and companionship. No matter what happens, no matter what you become, I'll never leave you. Seeing Susu again, Chiyu felt a bit guilty. If he didn't seal Susu's emotions back then, he wouldn't have missed out on Su-won. Remove the seal. Susu froze hearing Chiyu's words and then smiled. I don't need you to remove the seal. I'm fine like this. Ah, so. Chiyu looked at Susu strangely. Don't you think it's a pity? Don't you want to have normal feelings like others? Pity. Susu lowered his eyes and subconsciously thought back to the scene that left a deep impression in his memory. In the flames that filled the sky, Su-won wore a thin white dress and stood in front of him. How could he not feel pity? That might be his biggest regret in life. If time could go back and everything could start again, Susu's gaze flickered, then he raised his head and smiled at Chiyu. I will think of a way to make up for the regrets in my heart. As for the seal, I believe that if the time is right, the seal will break by itself. There would always be a feeling that could break through everything. Lost time space, destruction department. More than half a month had passed since the trial ended. Right now, Ding Jia, who had been promoted to the number 2 of the destruction department, was standing in the number 2 room looking at the connecting cabin in front of her. For the first time, her exquisite and beautiful lowly face revealed a reluctant expression. Su-won, you're so heartless. You didn't even tell me when you left. I'm unhappy. I'm a little emotional. I miss you. Needless to say, Ding Jia and Su-won had been together for a long time in the endless abyss. They had become good friends. Now that Su-won used all her points to exchange for her freedom, Ding Jia was happy for her but also a bit disappointed. Su-won, your General Su is good in every way. He's handsome, has a good figure, and his martial arts are great too. But you're just stubborn. You actually gave up a huge forest for a towering tree. Sigh. Forget it. I'm going to do my mission. I'll help you see all the handsome men in the world. Lost time space, restoration department. Su-won's departure and Chi-yu's disappearance made the destruction department quiet down. Thankfully, with the addition of Xian Yuanshi, this powerful newcomer, the male colleagues in the department were naturally very passionate towards this cold and beautiful girl. Unfortunately, this girl only talked to Boss Su. In her eyes, everyone else was just a moving specimen. Young Master. Today, Xian Yuanshi came out of the mission world and reported to Su Su's office as usual. She saw that Su Su was arranging some virtual models of the world. Young Master, what do you want to do? Xian Yuanshi looked at Su Su confusedly and asked curiously. I want to rebuild a plane that had collapsed. Nostalgia flickered through Su Su's eyes. That world had collapsed and dissipated into thousands of planes. All he could do was restore that world in the virtual world and restore everything there. The most illusory reality. That might be the only chance he had to make up for his regret in this lifetime. Young Master, do you need my help? Seeing Su Su's serious expression, Xian Yuanshi immediately asked sincerely. Hearing her words, Su Suk shook his head. Shao Shi, go rest. Oh right. Don't always call me Young Master in the future. Just call me by my name. Xian Yuanshi's gaze dimmed but she still lifted her head and smiled at him. I'll just call you Young Master. In this lifetime, this was the only way to prove that you were still alive in my life. A certain high-tech time-space, Huaxia, Yanjing. Stepping onto this land again, Su Wan and Su Rui were really excited. They hadn't left for long, but according to the time ratio between the lost time-space and this world, 20 years had passed in this world. Wife, guess what Su and Ling Li's expressions will be like when they see us? Ah. Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wan couldn't help but ponder. Su Rui's appearance hadn't changed and Su Wan had now restored her original appearance. She was using her real body. She really couldn't be sure if she would be recognized. The two arrived at the center of Yanjing. This place had changed a lot from their memories. The technology of this era was changing with each passing day. Robots had become legal citizens of this world. They could go to school, work, fall in love, get married, and even have children like ordinary people. It seemed like Ling Li had managed the robot business that Su Rui left for him really well. Mr. Su, Mrs. Su, right? Su Wan and Su Rui were sighing when a hover car suddenly stopped beside the two of them. A housekeeper-looking robot respectfully asked the two of them a question. We are. You are, hello, sir and madam. Madam told me to bring you home. The housekeeper robot turned on its smart screen and Su Xiaosu's young and beautiful face appeared on the screen. Father. Mother. Su Xiaosu exclaimed excitedly seeing Su Wan and Su Rui. Although Su Wan had changed her appearance, Su Xiaosu knew that the only woman who could stand next to her father and stand shoulder to shoulder with him was her mother, Su Wan. Su. Su Wan and Su Rui were really excited seeing Su Xiaosu's face. That's great. You guys are finally back. I've been waiting for you guys all these years. Hurry up and come back. Before Su Xiaosu could finish, the screen turned into a snowflake. Ah. Sir and madam, don't be nervous. The housekeeper robot, who was already familiar with this situation, smiled indifferently. Young miss must be naughty and purposely cut off young madam's communication signal. Sigh, this is the 4th time this week. Young madam has short-circuited a few times already. Su Rui and Su Wan were speechless. Young miss. Su and Ling Li's daughter. Damn. What kind of little devil did they give birth to? Su Wan and Su Rui felt sad knowing that they were promoted to be called grandfather and grandmother. Yanjing, Du family's old residence. Su Xiaosu was emitting smoke. Don't be nervous. She wasn't on fire. She was fuming with anger. Ling Isu, stand still and don't move. A certain lowly, stand still and don't move. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? I'm clearly 6 years old. Father. The little lowly eagerly rushed into Ling Li's arms. Although Ling Li was in his early 30s, he was still very young and handsome. He opened his arms and hugged his little baby. Ling Li looked down at his daughter. Isu, you made mother angry again. Didn't father tell you not to interfere with mother's communication signal? She'll short-circuit. Oh. Ling Isu blinked. Father, when did you tell me? You clearly said that you liked it when mother short-circuited the most. That way, you can do whatever you want. Ling Li was speechless. Whose brat was this? Su Xiaosu, Ling Li. Ling Li, cough. Su, look. The satellite signal captured father and mother's figures. They're really back. Let's go to the gate to welcome them. At this time, the scene of Su Wan and Su Rui in the car was being projected on the wide electronic screen in Du family's old residence. As expected, Su Xiaosu's attention was diverted hearing Ling Li's words. Ling Li knew that Su Xiaosu had a knot in her heart all these years. After Su Rui and Su Wan came back, that knot was easily resolved. But father-in-law and mother-in-law looked younger than her. Thinking about it, it was quite worrisome. What a strange family. But wasn't it also a happy and harmonious life that made others envious? 20 years had passed, but the Du family's old residence still maintained its original appearance. These years, Ling Li and Su Xiaosu would regularly find people to paint and maintain it. Everything in the house was still the same, especially Su Wan and Su Rui's room. It was clean every day. Su Xiaosu still remembered the words they left before they left. One day, they will come back. In this world, everyone will lie to you, but your lover, your parents, they won't. The luxurious hover car steadily stopped in front of the Du family's old residence. Su Wan and Su Rui got off the car one after the other. Right now, Ling Li and Su Xiaosu brought their baby daughter and stood at the gate with a joyful expression. We're home. Su Rui turned his head and smiled at Su Wan. In this world, there's a place that you'll always miss. We call it home. A real home. There's a lover, family, and everyone you miss. Amen, finally. We're home. Su Wan forcefully held Su Rui's hand. Su Rui, thank you. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for giving me a complete home. Welcome home. At this time, the family of three at the door also smiled and shouted. They had been waiting for this reunion for too long. Chapter 426. The street was bustling with traffic, and the peddlers were shouting loudly. Su Rui opened his eyes and found himself in an empty alley. From the entrance of the alley, he could still see the endless flow of people on the street. This is that world. Su Rui's gaze was a bit excited. When he left the restoration department, he had talked to Su Su once. If we meet Su Wan at the same time, Su Rui, do you think you'll win? She still remembered that day when Su Su leaned against the window under the bright sunlight and looked at her with a smile against the light. Do you think you'll win? Su Rui wasn't looking down on Su Su. He was just too confident in himself. He was the only one in the world who understood Su Wan the most and was the most suitable for her. Seeing the confidence in Su Rui's gaze, Su Su smiled faintly. You haven't seen the real Su Wan. You haven't experienced everything in that world. Su Rui, do you want to know Su Wan's past? Su Wan's past, that world that collapsed. I'm trying to use the virtual plane to reconstruct everything in that world. If I succeed, I'll let you know. Su Su reconstructed that world, and he also contacted Su Rui in another world through a special communication channel. This was a journey that crossed space and time. Su Wan, I'm coming. Su Rui took a deep breath. He was still wearing the clothes he wore in another time and space. Amen. So this was the legendary virtual reality. Everything was illusory, yet everything was incredibly real. The real past, the real people. Walking out of the alley, Su Rui couldn't tell the direction for a moment. In this world that was infinitely realistic, his perception was limited. He couldn't sense the aura of the people around him. But Su Rui believed that Su Su would choose a good place for him to stay. At least, this place should be close to Su Wan, right? Su Rui walked along the street step by step. When he reached a corner, he suddenly saw a familiar figure. No, don't hit me. A long-haired girl was squatting on the ground, being pressed down and beaten by a large group of girls. Her hair was a mess right now, but her cold and immature face could still be seen. Xiao Wan. Stop. Su Rui practically shot forward like an arrow and then pushed the people who attacked to the side without saying anything. Wife, are you all right? Su Rui subconsciously asked, a pair of big hands already firmly grasping the girl's small hands. "You," the girl raised her beautiful eyes and looked at the handsome young man who suddenly appeared in front of her. "Who are you?" What did he just call her? Did he recognize the wrong person? When the young girl was puzzled, Su-rui also subconsciously loosened his hand. Was it Su-won? They clearly had the same appearance, but it felt like something was different. Could this be the former Su-won? She was so soft and pitiful. She didn't seem like the Su-won he knew at all. At this moment, the black Jaguar that had been parked on the side of the street suddenly opened its door, and a pair of red leather shoes fell into everyone's eyes. Miss Su. At this time, the girls that Su-rui had pushed to the side immediately surrounded her, angrily shouting, "Miss Su, look! Su-yu, that bitch, hooked up with an uncle from who knows where. He actually dared to hit us. Ha!" The girl wearing a black short skirt raised her slender brows, staring at Su-rui's face coldly. "Uncle, your martial arts aren't bad." Su-rui was speechless. What did she mean by uncle? Ahem. Su-rui immediately tossed the girl aside and looked excitedly at the person in front of him. Xiao-won. Nanny. This was his wife. Her aura and gaze couldn't be wrong. Su-won furrowed her brows coldly. "You know me. Su-yu told you, right?" "Ha. Su-yu, you really love everyone. You didn't even let an uncle off. TSK TSK TSK. No. I don't know him." Su-yu immediately explained nervously. She really didn't know this person. "You don't know him?" Su-won covered her lips and smiled. "I just heard him call you wife in the car." "Uncle, could it be that you would even mistake your own wife?" Su-rui was speechless. Nanny. Could he say that he really did? How would he know that Su-won's sister looked almost the same as her? They had the same father but different mothers, but they looked like twins. This didn't make sense, okay? Su-won, listen to me. Su-rui raised his hand and wanted to grab Su-won's arm, but Su-won quickly dodged. She looked at the strange man in front of her with disgust. "You're quite handsome, but when you see a little girl, you get touchy with her. That's really outrageous. As expected, you're the same as that bitch, Su-yu. Don't touch me." Su-won couldn't help but look at Su-rui in warning. "My fiancé will be here soon." Fiancé. Hearing Su-won's words, Su-rui's entire person froze in place. A fiancé. What the hell? Beep. At this time, a black Bentley honked and stopped behind Su-won's car. Then the car door opened and a handsome young man slowly walked out. Xing-yi. Seeing her fiancé, Su-won smiled and wanted to rush over. Xiao-yu. Xing-yi rushed to Su-yu's side first. Seeing her disheveled appearance, his gaze turned cold and he looked at Su-won icily. Su-won. What did you do to Xiao-yu? She's your sister. How can you be so evil? Su-won opened her mouth and was about to say something. With a pang, Xing-yi's body was sent flying by General Su's kick. Bastard! Su-rui's expression was cold as he calmly stomped his feet. What are you doing? Su-won glared at Su-rui and was about to run towards Xing-yi, but Su-rui held onto her arm tightly. Don't go over. Let go. Is there something wrong with you? Su-won glared at Su-rui coldly again, but he wouldn't let go. He wouldn't give anyone a chance to hurt Su-won. Never. Crazy. Su-won secretly cursed in her heart, then quickly lowered her head and ruthlessly bit Su-rui's wrist. Hiss. The girl had a sharp tongue. Soon, blood seeped out of Su Rui's sleeve. He sucked in a cold breath but continued to smile and grab Su Wan, unwilling to let go. Be good. Hurry and let go. Your husband is about to be crippled by you. What are you saying? Su Wan's face was bright red as she let go of his lips. Su Rui's blood was still on the corner of her lips. You're really unreasonable. You want to take advantage of everyone you see. You're satisfied just because all the women in the world want to be your wife, right? No. I only want you. Su Rui gently lifted his injured wrist and his slender and powerful fingers gently brushed past Su Wan's lips. Pervert. Su Wan's expression changed and she took a few steps back. Seeing that Xing Yi's driver had helped him up, Su Wan immediately turned and returned to her car. Chapter 427. When Su Wan returned to Su family's villa, Su Qiqiao and Qin Shiyong weren't home. The empty villa was as cold as usual. Miss, you're back. The servant in the villa, Aunt Zhang, immediately smiled and walked to the door to help Su Wan take her small bag. Eldest young miss, young Master Li hired a new German teacher for you. The two of them are in the study. Li Fei's here. Hearing Aunt Zhang's words, Su Wan's cold eyes flashed with light. The Li family and Qin family were old friends. Li Fei and Su Wan had grown up together. In Yunqing's upper-class circle, Li Fei was famous for being a gentle and noble young master. Not only was he handsome, but he was also cultured and refined. Su Wan and Li Fei were childhood friends. Li Fei was also one of her few friends. I'm going upstairs to change and then I'll look for him in the study. Su Wan went upstairs and returned to her bedroom to change into a loose dress. When she looked in the mirror, she noticed that her lips were already stained with dried blood. Su Wan froze for a moment and inexplicably thought of the strange uncle on the street, as well as the finger that wiped her lips. Paw. Su Wan immediately washed her face. As expected, there wasn't a good person around Su Yu. By the time Su Wan tidied herself up and came to the study on the second floor, she heard laughter coming from the study. It was rare to see Li Fei this happy. It seemed like the German teacher she had never met was to his liking. I'm back. Su Wan pushed open the door to the study. The two men who were chatting inside stopped talking and turned to look at the door at the same time. You're back. Li Fei smiled faintly at Su Wan. Come. Look at the new teacher I hired for you. He's called Su Su. Su Su. Su Wan froze, looking at the man next to Li Fei in astonishment. If Li Fei was an elegant young master, then Teacher Su was an immortal figure who had walked out of an ink painting. To be able to be so otherworldly, as graceful as jade, it really made Su Wan somewhat surprised. Hello, Teacher Su. She snapped out of her trance and smiled at Su Su. A friend who could get along well with Li Fei must be a gentle person. Hello. Su Su looked at the young Su Wan in front of him and couldn't help but smile. When he and she first met, she was the cannon fodder filled with hatred, and he was the mission enforcer who came to save the plot. In that life, Su Su had used Li Fei's identity, so he knew all of Li Fei's hobbies and habits like the back of his hand. This time, Su Su had quickly become good friends with Li Fei and successfully arrived at the Su family. Su Wan had just turned 18 years old. Su heir had just returned to the Su family. Everything had yet to begin. There was still time, the two met happily. Because Li Fei was also here, Su Su didn't plan on teaching Su Wan today. The three chatted in the study for a while. When it was time for dinner, Li Fei and Su Su stayed to eat with Su Wan. There was finally someone sitting at the long dining table. This made Su Wan's cold little face reveal a rare smile. She temporarily suppressed what happened between Su Er and Xing Yi in the day. Hey, don't walk so fast. Wait for me. Right now, Su was hurriedly chasing after Su Rui on the brightly lit street. General Su couldn't take it anymore and stopped. He turned to look at the familiar face behind him. Do you need something? Su Er hesitated and blinked, looking at Su Rui seriously. I want to thank you. Thank you for helping me out. Damn. You chased after me for the entire afternoon just to say this. Are you crazy? If I knew you were Su Wan's sister, I would have killed you immediately. Su Rui looked coldly at Su Er. Are you done? If you're done, then you can scram. Su Er's gaze flickered, seeing that Su Rui's attitude wasn't good. Are you angry at Xiao Wan? Did you know her before? She's my sister. She's a bit willful and overbearing, but she's actually a good girl. If you... Stop. Su Rui couldn't help but interrupt Su Er. No one knows her better than me. It's really late right now. I need to find a place to spend the night. Do you understand? Su Er blinked in confusion. But if we walk any further, we'll reach the suburbs. There aren't any hotels there. Hotels my ass. General Su was penniless right now. He was a bit tired today and didn't want to find Su anymore. Therefore, he planned on spending the night outside first. He had internal strength anyways. He could meditate and cultivate for the night. I don't have money. I can't afford to stay in a hotel. Saying this, Su Rui turned to leave. Su Er couldn't help but tug on his sleeves. Don't go. My house isn't far from here. There are a lot of empty guest rooms in the villa. Why don't you stay there for the night? Who wants to go to your house? You're a girl and you dare to bring a man you don't even know his name to your house. How retarded are you? No. Speaking of which, isn't Su Er's house Su Wan's house? Is your house really nearby? Your sister is here too. Su Rui turned and looked at Su Er with sparkling eyes. Xiao Wan is here too. But don't worry, she won't chase you away. Really, she's really kind. Thinking that Su Rui was worried that Su Wan would chase her away, Su Er immediately explained nervously. Okay, then I'll reluctantly make do for the night. Su Rui revealed a helpless expression, but he was actually overjoyed inside. Sister Su, you did well. Seeing that you've helped me so much, I've decided not to kill you first. If Su Er knew what General Su was thinking right now, who knows what she would think. Speaking of which, Su wasn't too ridiculous. The spawn point he helped Su Rui set up wasn't far from Su family's villa. Su Wan had to pass by there to get home. Oh right, I still don't know your name. Seeing that they were about to reach Su family's villa, Su Er finally remembered that she didn't know his name. I'm Su Rui. Su Rui answered coldly. Your surname is Su too. Su Er seemed really happy hearing Su Rui's answer. What a coincidence. My surname is also Su. I'm Su Er. I know. Su Er was speechless. She carefully looked at the man next to her. Seeing that he still had a cold expression, Su Er couldn't help but shut her mouth. This person was a bit strange. By the time the two returned to the villa, it was already past 7 at night. Melodious piano music came from the piano room upstairs. Su Rui stood in the living room and couldn't help but listen attentively. My sister is practicing the piano. She's the genius of our Su family. Su Aire's gaze flickered with a trace of envy. Su Wan, who grew up in the Su family, knew everything and could do anything well. Compared to her, he was really lacking. The genius girl of the Su family. Su Rui couldn't help but smile hearing Su Aire's words. This smile carried a trace of bitterness. A tragedy that was predetermined by someone. Her fate had been decided long ago. So what if she was a genius? Xiao Wan, I don't know what you experienced in that life, but here, even if it's just an illusion, I'm going to save you. I won't let you cry. Chapter 428. It was Su Wan's habit to play the piano before she slept every day. What she didn't know was that tonight, her piano music had gained another listener. What she didn't know was that there would be another guest in her room after nightfall. Though his perception was restricted, Su Rui still accurately found Su Wan's bedroom. It was hard to change a person's habits. Su Rui and Su Wan had lived together for too long. So long that he could find her favorite room even if he closed his eyes. Right now, Su Wan was sleeping really soundly. She wore black satin pajamas. She was clearly a beautiful and immature girl, but no matter if it was her clothes or the decorations in her bedroom, they were undoubtedly cold and reserved. Even after she fell asleep, her little face was tense, and there was no sign of tranquility or comfort. Su Rui lifted his hand, feeling heartache. He gently held Su Wan's hand and slowly transferred his gentle internal force into her body. The sleeping girl seemed to feel a warm and comfortable heat flowing through her body. Her expression gradually relaxed, and her tightly pursed lips gradually curved into a comfortable smile. Go to sleep, wife. Good night. Su Rui gently bent down and carefully kissed Su Wan's forehead. Until the sky was about to brighten, Su Rui reluctantly left Su Wan's bedroom and returned to the guest room that Su Yu prepared for him. The next morning, Su Wan opened her eyes early. She didn't know why, but she seemed to have slept really well last night. Glancing at the alarm clock, Su Wan slowly got off the bed to wash up. By the time she changed into her school uniform and walked downstairs, she saw Su Yu and another person sitting by the dining room table. Isn't that? Su Wan widened her eyes when she saw the man's appearance. Isn't that the pervert from yesterday? Su Yu. Su Wan immediately looked coldly at Su Yu sitting next to the dining table. Xiao Wan, you're awake. Come eat. Su Rui made breakfast today. His skills are really good. Su Yu couldn't stop praising the breakfast Su Rui made. General Su just looked at his wife silently. He had specially made this breakfast for his wife. Back then, he had spent so much effort trying to control her stomach. Seeing you guys makes me lose my appetite. Su Wan glanced at Su Yu and Su Rui. Su Yu, this is my home. In the future, please don't bring in shady people. After speaking, Su Wan coldly walked to the door, took her school bag from Aunt Zhang's hands and quickly walked out of the villa. Xiao Wan. Seeing Su Wan's cold and arrogant attitude, Su Yu couldn't help but bite her lips. Then she turned her head and subconsciously explained to Su Rui, Su Rui, don't mind her. Xiao Wan, where is she? Looking at the empty seat in front of her, Su Air looked quite confused. What the hell? How did Su Rui disappear in the blink of an eye? Get out of here. At this time, in the Jaguar car in the courtyard of the villa, Su Wan was holding her school bag and vigilantly looking at the man who suddenly jumped into the car. I need a ride. Su Rui smiled at Su Wan. Don't be so nervous. I'll stay away from you and I won't touch you, okay? Su Wan looked at him suspiciously. Where are you going? Wherever you go, I'll go. Su Rui sat down in a deadpan manner and answered Su Wan's words seriously. She didn't know what this pervert was planning. Soo-won narrowed her eyes and then sat on the other side of the car. She placed her school bag between the two of them and said, "Uncle Lin, drive to school." "Yes, eldest miss." Uncle Lin, who was sitting in the driver's seat, heard Soo-won's words and skillfully started the car and sped away. The road conditions were pretty good in the early morning. There wasn't much traffic on the road and the car quickly arrived at the entrance of Soo-won's private high school. "I'm here. Hurry and get out." Soo-won carried her school bag and got out of the car, still vigilantly looking at Soo-rui. In the end, she was still a 16-year-old and inexperienced child. Seeing her like a hedgehog, Soo-rui smiled and got out of the car. He lifted his head to look at the dazzling school gates and couldn't help but be speechless. So luxurious. This school. "Uncle Lin, you don't have to pick me up after school today. Xing-yi and I are going out to play." Soo-won said a few words to Uncle Lin and then entered the school with her school bag. When Soo-won entered, Soo-won also leisurely strolled inside. "Sir." Seeing that it was an unfamiliar face, the security guard immediately stopped Soo-rui. "It's school time right now. Non-staff are forbidden from entering. Please cooperate." "Oh. Really?" Soo-rui smiled faintly. I'm actually here to apply for a job." "Apply for a job?" Hearing Soo-rui's words, the security guard froze. Recently, the school didn't lack teachers, right? He didn't see any notices about hiring teachers either. "Sir, are you sure you're not mistaken? We're Xingming Private High School. We don't lack teachers here." As expected of a well-trained security guard, he maintained a charming smile and respectful attitude from start to finish. "Oh, really?" Soo-rui's gaze flickered. He saw a man wearing a suit getting out of his private car carrying teaching materials. "He's a teacher here, right?" Soo-rui pointed at the man. "Yes, that's Teacher Yu. He teaches math." "Oh." Soo-rui smiled and walked over to Teacher Yu. "Teacher Yu." Teacher Yu heard Soo-rui's voice and glanced over in confusion. Seeing the elegant man in front of him, he thought he was a student's parent. He immediately revealed a professional smile. "Hello, I'm Yu Zhang. May I ask who you are, Teacher Yu? You've worked hard. You need to rest." When Soo-rui heard Teacher Yu's question, he took a few steps forward and patted his shoulder while smiling and speaking softly. Before Yu Zhang could say anything, he fainted and fell to the side. People immediately surrounded him. Teacher Yu, what's wrong?" "He overworked himself and needs to rest." Soo-rui smiled and walked back to the security guard. "Look, you're missing a math teacher right now. I can guarantee that Teacher Yu won't be able to get better in 3 to 5 months. So, can you let me see the principal now? I'm really here to apply for a job." The security guard was speechless. "Damn. Your method of applying for a job is amazing. I can't afford to offend you, okay? I'll report this to my superior and ask for instructions." "Sir, please wait a moment." The little security guard returned to his security room and immediately reported the Xianhuan incident he encountered today to his superior. The superior then immediately went to consult the school leaders. Just like this, 10 minutes later, Soo-rui's figure already appeared in the principal's office. Half an hour later, Soo-rui successfully became a math teacher of Xingming Private High School. He was in charge of Grade 2 Class 6. General Soo expressed that no matter when, the fist was the law. Chapter 429. Xingming Private High School took the path of elite education. Every day, the class schedule was very tight. Su Wan walked into grade 2 class 6 classroom like usual. Xiao Wan. You're here. Seeing Su Wan's figure, a few figures immediately surrounded her. These were the ones who had a good relationship with Su Wan. Well, that was all. These young ladies of the upper class had received all kinds of education since they were young. Every one of them could write a book called The 36 Stratagems of Socializing with Young Ladies before they even graduated from school. Xiao Wan, I heard that you got people to teach Su Yu, that slut, a lesson last night. Towards an illegitimate daughter like Su Heir, all of the legitimate heiresses hated her. Who did you hear that from? Su Wan looked up coldly at the young lady who just asked. Shin-Chi, you can eat whatever you want but you can't say whatever you want. Ah. Shin-Chi's expression turned cold hearing Su Wan's words. What? You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it. Could it be that you're afraid? Xing Yi will cause trouble for you. Ah. Who in school doesn't know about Xing Yi and Su Yu? Slap. A loud slap interrupted Shin-Chi's words. She covered her red face and looked at Su Wan hatefully. Su Wan, you dare to hit me. I already hit you. Why wouldn't I dare? You're just the third son of the Shin family. Shin-Chi, what right do you think you have to criticize me? Your Shin family doesn't deserve it. In Xingming, Su Wan was the synonym for arrogance. Who didn't know that Su family and Qin family were the top families in Yunqing? Su Wan was Su Qiqiao and Qin Shiyong's daughter. Even if she wasn't happy in her own home, outside, everyone would automatically lower themselves to her. Shin-Chi secretly gritted her teeth hearing Su Wan's arrogant words. Su Wan, don't you have a good background? Who in Yunqing doesn't know about your family's matters? What are you after leaving the Su and Qin family? There was 100 kinds of resentment in her heart, but Shin-Chi had no choice but to swallow all the words back into her stomach. That's right, she was only Shin family's third Mississippi. She didn't have the capital to go against Su Wan, but to admit it like this, Shin-Chi felt unwilling. Su Wan, just you wait. When the day comes that Xing Yi doesn't want you anymore, when Su Yu gains a foothold in the Su family, you'll be crying. Ayaya, why is it so lively early in the morning? What exactly did I miss? At this time, a crisp voice suddenly came from the door, and a cute girl with short hair walked in with a big school bag on her back, smiling. Xiao Wan Wan. As soon as the girl entered the door, she went straight to Su Wan. Su Wan, what are you guys doing? Xue Hui is here. Seeing the short-haired girl, everyone laughed and greeted her. Everyone knew that Xue Hui and Su Wan were the closest in the class. She came at the right time and could turn this page over. As expected, Su Wan coldly returned to her seat after hearing Xue Hui's words. Nothing. I just swatted a fly to death. Oh, there's a fly in the classroom. Xue Hui couldn't help but widen her eyes. Where? Where is it? Let me have a look at the corpse. I'm going to put it on the internet to dry. Everyone, girl, is it okay for you to be so naive? Su Wan couldn't help but laugh at Xue Hui's words. I've already dismembered the corpse so you don't need to think about it anymore. Oh, no. Xue Hui put down her school bag in annoyance and sat in front of Su Wan. Su Wan, you're so vicious. Such a cute, small animal. How did you do it? Please teach me. Su Wan, that's enough. Seeing Su Wan's expression, Xue Hui couldn't help but stick her tongue out at her. Then she moved closer to Su Wan and said softly, when I came here, I watched a huge show. Did you know? An amazing person came to our school. Oh. Hearing Xue Hui's words, Su Wan looked at her round face and exclaimed, what amazing person. Did the cafeteria auntie change into a handsome little fresh meat? No. It's a teacher. Did you know? Adonis teacher. Ah, he's so handsome and domineering. In short, he's the best. Unfortunately, he seems to have replaced Teacher Yu. Teacher Yu teaches Class 1. I'm so jealous of the girls in Class 1. Little Wan, how about we change classes? Adonis. Su Wan pursed her lips. Shui Hui's Adonis ranged from delivery boys to the country's chief. There were too many of them. You like Adonis? Do you still need to change classes? Su Wan lifted her brows and glanced at Shui Hui. Wait for me after school. I'm going to celebrate Ouyang Mo's birthday with Xing Yi today. Count you in. Ouyang Mo. It's the school hunk, long-legged oppa. Okay. Shui Hui nodded. She was so happy following little Wan. Not only could she see the pleasing Master Xing every day, but she could also attend the school hunk's Adonis birthday party. Shui Hui felt like she was going to die from happiness. The people who said that Xing Yi had a change of heart and fell in love with Su Yu were unreasonable. Our little Wan was both a scholar and a goddess. She could be cute at home and awesome outside. Where else could you find a girl like her? If Xing Yi really didn't like little Wan and instead liked Su Yu, that white lotus, it could only mean that he was blind. The two chatted for a bit. Shui Hui had fallen into endless infatuation with the school hunk, Ouyang Mo. As for Su Wan, she looked at the message that Xing Yi just sent over. Ouyang Mo also invited Su Yu. Su Wan, be careful tonight. Don't make things difficult for everyone. Su Yu again. Su Wan really didn't understand. No matter if it was Xing Yi or Ouyang Mo, what did they like about Su Yu? Kindness. Cute. Weak. If a woman was too kind and weak, she would only get bullied. Su Wan didn't like weak people at all. Sometimes she didn't understand. Su Yu was so pure and weak. What did she rely on to survive until now? Were there really that many good people in this world who were willing to help others without asking for anything in return? Since I gave, I need to get something in return. Born in a merchant family, Su Wan had always believed this. If I gave something, you need to at least give me something in return, maybe even more. How could there be an idiot in this world who kept giving but didn't ask for anything in return? That type of person definitely didn't exist. Su Wan silently deleted Xing Yi's message. Xing Yi, you were the one who provoked me back then. You were the one who proposed the marriage to the Su family. Since you provoked me, you need to take responsibility. Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking about Su Yu. You want to abandon me to chase after Su Yu. Unless I die. Su Wan's gaze darkened. Hearing the bell, she immediately put away her phone and took out her textbooks from her bag. The first class happened to be math class. Math, Su Wan suddenly thought of Shui Hui's words. The new math teacher and whatnot. While she was in a daze, there were whispers in the classroom. Adonis. Shui Hui, who was sitting in front of Su Wan, suddenly turned around and looked at Su Wan with starry eyes. Little Wan, you're my male god. Adonis. Su Wan raised her eyes and what she saw was Su Rui's handsome face with a gentle smile. So handsome. I'm going to faint. Adonis, please go out with me. Su Wan couldn't help but widen her eyes amidst the whispers. Adonis. Can you not scold me? You don't know how to make it. Su Rui smiled and patted Shui Hui's shoulder. If you don't know how to do it, then go outside and think about it. Oh, oh. Teacher is so gentle. Shui thought as she walked. By the time she came back to her senses, she realized that she was being punished to stand. Right now, the classroom was quiet again. Su Rui's gaze flickered and landed on Su Wan. Student Su Wan, you seem to be having a good chat with Shui Hui. Come and solve this problem. Yes. Su Wan put down her fountain pen and quickly walked to the lectern. She took out a piece of chalk and started solving the problem without hesitation. In less than a minute, she solved all the problems and got them all correct. My wife is indeed the best. General Su couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Student Su Wan is truly a genius. Then from now on, you'll be my math class representative. Happy working with you. Saying this, Su Rui extended his hand to Su Wan. His slender and clean hand was right in front of her. Su Wan tilted her head and lifted her slender hand. Her fingertips lightly touched Su Rui's palm. Thank you for your guidance, teacher. Saying this, she turned around and left coldly. Ha! Su Rui smiled. Okay, students. Let's take a look at this problem. The day's lessons passed quickly. Normally, Su Wan would go to the 4th class to wait for Xing Yi after school. But today, Su Rui told her to collect the math papers and send them to his office. Therefore, Su Wan could only give her bag to Shui Hui and tell her to wait at the entrance of Xing Yi's class. Meanwhile, Su Wan took a stack of papers to the math group's office. Right now, the other teachers had gotten off work and left. When Su Wan entered, Su Rui was sitting in front of his desk, rolling up his sleeves and grading homework seriously. Teacher Su. Su Wan knocked on the door and then quickly walked in. You're here. Su Rui couldn't help but smile seeing Su Wan's figure. Put the papers here. I'm about to get off work too. Let's go together. I'll treat you to dinner. As he spoke, Su Rui had already stood up and went to grab his coat that was placed on the chair. Countless experiences in the past told General Su that when facing his wife, he must pester her and be shameless. Our Xiao Wan was definitely amenable to coaxing but not coercion. Plus, she was a good girl with a cold face but a warm heart. I'm meeting someone. It's my fiancé. Su Wan specially added a sentence. In fact, Xingming didn't reject teacher-student relationships. After all, the students of Xingming were all famous people in Yunqing. The teachers of Xingming were also very outstanding. If the two of them really liked each other and their families didn't reject each other, it was still possible for them to be together. However, Su Wan didn't believe in fairy tales like that. People without desires and selfishness were all saints. But there was no such thing as a saint in this world. Your fiancé. Su Rui smiled faintly hearing Su Wan's words. He knew that Su Wan was tactfully rejecting his pursuit. You guys aren't married yet, right? I still have the right to pursue you, right? Saying this, Su Rui put on his jacket and winked at Su Wan. I'm really sincere. Sincere? You like me? Or do you like being Su family's son-in-law? Su Wan deeply looked at Su Rui. Since she was young, there were countless boys surrounding her. Almost everyone had their eyes on Su family's money and status. No one did it for her. Many people envied Su Wan's extravagant lifestyle, but no one could understand her loneliness. 2 years ago, Xing Yi barged into her life. As the eldest young master of Xing family, he didn't need to sacrifice his marriage. But he just had his eyes on Su Wan. That was the age when love first bloomed. It was also the first time Su Wan truly felt someone doting on her. That was liking her. That was love. She didn't understand nor was she sure, but she missed that feeling. She missed that young man's gentleness. She told herself that she had to hold on to this feeling. This was the best gift she received in her life. Until a few months ago, when Suyu returned to Su family. Xing-yi nearly lost his composure the first time he saw Suyu. At that time, someone as smart as Su-won knew that Xing-yi knew Suyu. Even the reason why Xing-yi treated her so gently these 2 years was because he thought of her as another person. Substitute. So she was just Suyu's substitute. Su-won understood all of this, but she refused to admit defeat. Since young, Su-won, who didn't have her parents' love, knew that no one would give her what she wanted. She had to fight for it with her life. Love was like this too. Chapter 431. You like me? Or do you like being Su family son-in-law? Su-won, don't be so sad and lonely. I love you. I only love you. In my eyes, you're better than all the women in the world. Ah. Su-won froze on the spot after Su-rue's sudden attack. She was forcefully kissed. Plus, this was her first kiss. Maybe it was because she didn't believe in her feelings or other people, but Su-won had always maintained a special obsession with emotional cleanliness. She had been with Xing-yi for so long, but the closest they got was just a hug. At this moment, Su-won snapped out of her trance and started struggling after being assaulted by Su-rue's domineering kiss and unfamiliar and strong aura. Don't move. If you move again, I'll eat you. Su-rue felt Su-won's body trembling. He immediately imprisoned her in his arms. Xiao-won, don't move. Listen to me. Su-won glared. Knowing that she couldn't escape Su-rue's embrace, she stopped struggling and looked at him fiercely. I won't let you go. Be good. Seeing his wife like an enraged little lion, Su-rue couldn't help but use his chin to gently rub her forehead. Didn't you want to know if I like you or your Su family's money? Be good and come with me. I'll take you to do something big. Saying this, Su-rue pulled Su-won's hand and walked outside. Su-won bit her lips. Seeing that she couldn't break free from Su-rue's restraint, she decided to follow him. She really wanted to see what this crazy man was going to take her to do. Su-rue brought Su-won out of the school and took a taxi to the technology city. He got a high-performance laptop. Swipe my card. When they were paying the bill, General Su smiled and waved at Su-won. Lend me your bank card. Ah. Su-won was still fuming. Hearing Su-rue's words, she coldly snorted but still slowly took out her bank card. The little sister at the cashier counter was originally captivated by General Su's handsomeness and extravagance. In the end, when she saw that he actually let a girl pay for him, that little sister immediately looked at Su-rue with a strange gaze. He was so handsome, but he was actually a gigolo who lived off a woman. TSK, TSK, TSK. Maybe it was because the cashier girl's gaze was too intense. Feeling the disdain in her eyes, Su-rue smiled and took the opportunity to put his arm around Su-won's shoulders again. Wife, I'm so hungry. How about we go eat something good and then do something big? Amen, how much money do you have in your card? Su-won subconsciously avoided Su-rue's hand. Seeing the dumbstruck expression on the little girl's face, Su-won's mood suddenly relaxed. I have a lot of money. What do you want to eat? My treat. Let's go. Saying this, Su-won shook her gold card, indicating for Su-rue to bring the laptop and follow. The two went to a private restaurant and asked for a quiet private room. Order what you want to eat. I still have things to do tonight. Saying this, Su-won took out her phone and sent a message to Xing-yi. Seeing her indifferent expression, Su Rui couldn't help but smile. This was his Su Wan. No matter what situation she encountered, no matter who she encountered, she could remain calm and collected. If it was another woman, who knows how much trouble she'd get into. Just 2 dishes of signature dishes will do. After sending the waiter away, Su Rui took out his new laptop and plugged in the internet card. Then he started working quickly. While working, he asked, Xiao Wan, have you started trading stocks now? Su Wan glanced at him. You know that I'm trading stocks too. It seems like you're more mysterious than I thought. Just who was this man who called her wife the moment he saw her? Why did he keep pestering her? Actually, I'm not mysterious. Su Rui looked at Su Wan's eyes. I come from another time-space. There's you, me, our child, our family. I'm your man. Of course, that's in the future. As he spoke, Su Rui turned his laptop and the screen turned to Su Wan's eyes. Inside was a foreign bank account. There was a 7-digit deposit in the account. This is the starting capital that I just collected. Tomorrow, it will increase by 100 times. Do you believe me? You're a hacker. Su Wan stared at the account on Su Rui's computer screen and asked with interest. Wife, what's the point of your attention? To be more precise, I control the technology and computer technology that is hundreds of years ahead of this world. You can think of me as a hacker. A hacker from the future. Su Rui winked at Su Wan. Future. Hearing this, Su Wan thought for a moment. You said you came from the future. Then tell me, what am I like in the future? What about the future Su family? Why am I with you? In the future, you'll naturally be as smart, cute, and lovable as you are now. As for the Su family, don't care about them. Su Rui looked at Su Wan attentively. I know that you weren't happy living in the Su family. Your fiancé is a shameless scumbag. Also, there's someone called Su Su. He's not a good person. Xiao Wan, you need to stay away from them. Su Su. Hearing Su Su's name, Su Wan blinked, slightly moved. He even knew about Teacher Su. Could it be, he really came from the future? Damn, he's tricking a young lady. Su Wan smiled. I'll remember what you said. Since you said that we'll be together in the future, since it's fated, then there's no need to rush, right? I really have something to do today. Eat slowly. I'll pay the bill. Saying this, Su Wan stood up. Before Su Rui could react, she quickly left the private room. General Su was speechless. To have such a cunning wife, it was really worrisome. Su Rui sighed and put away his laptop. He was really a bit hungry. Knock knock. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Then someone pushed the door open. Just put the dishes down. Su Rui said faintly. In the next second, a slender figure sat in front of him. Teacher Su, how do you feel? Hearing the familiar voice, Su Rui looked up to see Su Su's warm smile. Ha! Su Rui smiled. Su Su, you're finally willing to appear. Actually, I've always been watching you, watching all of you. Su Su smiled and poured a cup of hot water for Su Rui. Su Su had reorganized this world. He could arrange Su Rui's birth point and even the time when Su Rui entered this world. Right now, it was the second semester of Su Wan's second year of high school. It was a rather important period in her life. This summer, Su Wan personally witnessed Xing Yi's betrayal. Although she knew that this world was illusory and that once they left, this world would disappear like a dream. This was like a realistic dream. No matter if it was Su Wan or this world, in the end, it was just a dream. But even though he knew it was a dream, Su Rui still pestered Su Wan with all his might. General Su's persistent pestering had benefited Su a lot, so you could chase people like this. So General Su, who killed without blinking, could also be this shameless. Chapter 432. In the private room of the restaurant, the dishes were all served. Su Rui and Su Suk faced each other, but neither of them moved their chopsticks first. Tell me about it. Su Rui looked at Su seriously. Su Wan's past, her and Xing Yi's past. Past, Su focused. The first time he saw Su Wan's name was on the mission board. That day, he just casually flipped through a mission and accepted it. Who knew that it would lead to such a deep connection? In this world, Su was the female lead. Xing Yi was the male lead and Ouyang Imo was the male supporting lead. Qin Qing and Li Fei were the main supporting leads. As for Su Wan, she was the ex-girlfriend who was killed as cannon fodder, the evil female supporting lead that everyone disliked. At that time, Su had walked through many worlds and met many supporting male and female characters. He had seen many people who were trapped by love and went crazy for love. But Su Wan was the most special one. She's really stubborn and smart, but also so innocent that it makes one's heart ache. Su said this while sinking into his memories. Su Wan was born in the illustrious Su family, but she was disliked by her parents. Other than careful servants, there were only hypocritical outsiders around her. Her childhood was unhappy and blissful. She didn't know what love was, but she desired love more than anyone else. She learned all sorts of knowledge and skills to equip herself. She was arrogant. She was the eldest miss of the Su family that everyone envied. However, this was just her disguise. She was really lonely. Until she met Xing Yi when she was 16. Xing Yi's appearance warmed Su Wan's entire life. She was like a traveler who had been in the desert for a long time and encountered a fertile oasis for the first time. Xing Yi's gentle and sincere care made Su Wan feel that she truly existed for the first time. She was no longer a doll in the Su family. She finally became a person with flesh and blood. Someone cared about her and someone missed her. She was innocent and stubborn. She hoped that she could be with Xing Yi forever, but at this time, Su Qiqiao found Su Yu. She was the one with the halo of the female lead. Su Yu's appearance changed Su Wan's life. Su Qiqiao ignored everyone's objections and brought Su Hair into the Su family. Because of this, Qin Shiyong went from not returning home every few days to not returning to the Su family for months. After Xing Yi saw Su Yu again, he immediately changed his attitude towards Su Yu. As it turned out, Xing Yi had accidentally fallen off a cliff when he was traveling 3 years ago. At that time, Su Yu had saved his life. By the time he woke up, Su Yu had already left. These years, he had been searching for the benefactor that saved his life. After meeting Su Yu, he mistook her for Su Yu. Now that the genuine female lead has appeared, Su Wan naturally should abdicate and give way. According to the mission information I received, the original plot in this world should have been Xing Yi and Su Wan breaking up and breaking off the engagement. Su Wan couldn't take the blow and decided to hire assassins to get rid of Su Yu. In the end, Su Qiqiao found out about this. One was the daughter he truly loved and the other was the daughter he despised. Su Qiqiao's choice was obvious. In the end, Su Wan was chased out of the Su family. She relied on the Qin family, but because Qin family's eldest miss, Qin Qing, and Su Yu were good friends, she didn't have a good life in the Qin family. Because Qin Shiyong didn't like her, Su Wan ended up being abandoned by the Qin family. Old Master Qin used her as a bargaining chip to marry Yun City Shen family's eldest young master. However, Shen family's eldest young master was a drug addict. Every time he took drugs, he would hit people. In the end, he accidentally killed Su Wan. Hearing Su Su's words, Su Wan's aura grew colder and colder. It's really melodramatic. Such an idiotic world should be destroyed. But speaking of this, why would my wife follow this plot? She wasn't an idiot. Yeah. Su Wan broke away from that world's plot. That's why I entered that world. After Xing Yi broke off the engagement, Su Wan didn't plan on hiring killers to kill people. She spent a lot of money to buy a batch of firearms and buried all the explosives in Su family's villa. She wanted to perish together with everyone. This was Su Wan, the real Su Wan. Thinking of this, Su Su couldn't help but look at Su Wan. Su Wan, this is my biggest regret in my mission and life. Do you know? Because I don't understand love. I don't understand a woman's heart. I thought it would be fine if she fell in love with someone else. But I neglected her feelings. Xing Yi's betrayal could make her want to die with everyone. Then what would she do if she betrayed me again? He acted as Li Fei and pulled Su Wan out of the abyss of despair bit by bit. But at the last moment, he pushed her into even deeper despair. This was, in fact, the cruelest thing. This was also Su Su's biggest regret in life. Although this is illusory, I can only make up for it here. Su Su smiled helplessly. You're right. You can only make up for it here because in reality, she's doing well. She doesn't need anyone's compensation because she has me. General Su couldn't help but lift his head hearing Su Su's words, looking at him confidently. Yeah. Su Su nodded. Seeing Su Wan's persistence, Su Su had to admit that he couldn't become a man like Su Wan. For the woman he loved, he could become a completely different person. Su Su seemed gentle and refined, but he was actually very strict and steady. He chased after girls shamelessly or acted like an overbearing CEO falling in love with him. This definitely didn't fit his persona. Tonight is Ouyang Mo's birthday. Xing Yi and Su Wan will be attending his birthday party. Su Yu will be going too. Don't say that I didn't remind you. Tonight, Su Wan and Su Yu will get into an argument and Xing Yi will leave Su Wan to chase after Su Yu. Saying this, Su Su took out a piece of paper and a wallet from his pocket and placed it on the table. This is the address. Good luck. Hey, Su Su. Seeing that Su Su was about to leave, Su Wan couldn't help but stop him. Didn't you want to compete with me? It doesn't seem like you to admit defeat so quickly. What happened to the big battle? I'm giving you a chance. It's not that I'm admitting defeat, but Su Su didn't continue. He turned and slowly walked out of the room. He really wasn't admitting defeat. He just didn't want to see her go through that helpless and sad moment again. He didn't want to see her hide in the corner and cry by herself. Su Su wasn't good at coaxing people, but Su Wan was. Plus, the only person he loved to coax was Su Wan. No one should get involved in this relationship. This relationship made people envious and yearn for it at the same time. After Su Su left, Su Wan couldn't be bothered with his computer anymore. He grabbed his wallet and the piece of paper and rushed out. Wife, wait for me. The pitch-black night and the rugged mountain road. It was a long walk from the villa on the top of the mountain to the foot of the mountain. Wearing a dress and high heels, Su Wan walked down the mountain road step by step. At this time, Ouyang family's birthday party had already ended and everyone had left. She was supposed to leave with Xing Yi, but for Su Yu, Xing Yi chased her out of the car halfway and chased after Su Yu by himself. Ha! This wasn't the first time she was abandoned by her fiancé. It was just that this was the first time he had done it in such a dark and desolate place. If it was another girl, they would probably be so scared that they wouldn't be able to walk, but Soo-won still walked down the mountain step by step. As she walked, she saw the familiar car lights. It was Xing-Yi's car. Xing-Yi parked his car by the side of the road. Through the dim light from the car, she could vaguely see him and Soo-Yu's figures. The two were just pulling at each other at first, but they ended up hugging and kissing each other. Soo-won stood under a tree by the side of the road and didn't move. She stared dazedly at the two hugging and kissing in the dark night, tears silently sliding down her face. It hurts. Her heart hurts. Biting her lips to prevent herself from crying out, Soo-won's hands were already tightly clenched into fists. Soo-won, you can't cry. You can't let anyone laugh at you. Hurriedly wiping away the tear stains on her face, Soo-won once again walked forward. Perhaps because she was absent-minded, her left foot tripped over a stone and her whole body immediately fell to the ground. A wound immediately appeared on her smooth and white knee, blood mixed with the soil on the ground. Blessings never come in pairs and misfortune never comes alone. Watching as Xing-Yi drove away with Soo-Yu, Soo-won sneered in disdain. My good sister with a kind heart. Xing-Yi kissed and hugged you. You can't control yourself and I understand you. But you're so kind. Why don't you care about where your sister is right now? Did you not notice that your sister is missing? Ha, hee hee. Soo-won sneered and wanted to get up, but the pain in her legs and feet made it so that she couldn't stand up. Don't move. Be good. A familiar voice suddenly rang from behind her. Soo-won's tense nerves suddenly relaxed. It's you. She turned her head. Under the dim light of the night, a tall figure quickly walked over. Seeing the wound on Soo-won's body, Soo-rui's face sank, but his gaze still carried an incomparably gentle expression. Be good, don't move. I'll help you deal with it. Your husband's skill in dealing with wounds is absolutely first class. Great, great. Soo-won didn't speak as she watched Soo-rui skillfully clean her wound and even helped her wrap it up. She just silently looked at the man's serious appearance and looked at his side profile. This person didn't seem to be as hateful as she thought he was in the beginning. Although he liked to take advantage of people and even, thinking of the kiss in the office, Soo-won felt her face burning. He kissed her. Did she betray Xing-Yi too? Soo-won's thoughts turned complicated. In the past, her world was so monotonous. Monotonous without any warmth. Later on, Xing-Yi became her entire world, but now... Chapter 433. While Soo-won was contemplating, Soo-rui had already carried her on his back with ease and familiarity. Okay, I'll carry you back. You should sleep first. When you wake up, we'll be home. Leaning on the man's warm back, Soo-won was a bit hesitant. Soo-rui, do you always chase after girls like this? Ha! Soo-rui couldn't help but laugh. Silly girl, I only chase after you. Plus, I only carry you. I carry you until my hair turns white and I carry you until the end of time. Until the end of time, it sounded really tempting. Soo-won carefully wrapped her arms around Soo-rui's neck. You're really an expert at saying sweet nothings. But how can you believe a man's words? Xing-Yi also said that he loved me, but now, he said that he found out that the person he loved was Soo-yu. Say, what kind of person would love the wrong person? Even if they look the same, if you love them, then you love them. If you don't love them, then you don't love them. Soo-won didn't understand. She didn't understand how Xing-Yi could say that he didn't love her anymore. Plus, he was so cold-blooded and heartless towards her. Even if she was just a pet dog that he raised when he was bored, they should have feelings for each other after a while, right? Could it be that the relationship between people was really so fragile? Su Rui paused. It's not that you don't understand. It's that this world is too melodramatic. Don't think so much. Go to sleep. As he spoke, Su Rui continued to walk forward steadily. Su Wan leaned on his back and finally fell asleep in a daze. By the time Su Wan woke up again, it was still pitch black and the stars twinkled in the sky. We're almost at the city, right? Put me down. Come, let's take a taxi back. I have money. Su Wan didn't know how long Su Rui had been carrying her. She was a bit embarrassed and struggled to get down. Don't move. Just let me carry you. Su Rui tightened his arms and stopped Su Wan's movements. Don't look down on your man. It's not the first time I've carried you home. It's definitely not a difficult thing. Saying this, Su Rui continued to walk forward steadily. With his stamina, he didn't feel any pressure even if he carried Su Wan every day. Su Rui. Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wan froze for a moment. She suddenly remembered what Su Rui said to her in the evening. Did he really come from the future? For a moment, Su Wan was somewhat confused and at a loss. What was wrong with her? She actually hoped that such a ridiculous lie was true, however, he really hoped that it was true. No matter who it was, it would be great if he could have such a person to accompany him in the future. He did not seek great wealth or earth-shattering wealth. She didn't need any young talents, nor did she need any young masters from aristocratic families. She only needed one person to love her seriously. It was late at night when Su Rui carried Su Wan back to Su family's villa. The lights on the first floor were still on. Xing Yi and Su Yu sat on the sofa in the living room. Seeing Su Rui carrying Su Wan, Su Yu immediately stood up nervously. Xiao Wan, what's wrong? Are you okay? Saying this, Su Yu took a few steps forward to support Su Wan, but Su Wan coldly pushed her away. Don't touch me. Su Wan, what's with your attitude? Su Yu is just worried about you. Xing Yi's gaze couldn't help but turn cold seeing Su Wan's cold attitude towards Su Yu. Ha, thank you for your concern. Why didn't she go out and find me if she was so worried? She must be tired of drinking tea and eating melon seeds in the living room. Su Wan glanced coldly at Xing Yi and mocked softly. She wanted to go out and find you. I was the one who stopped her from going out. From Xing Yi's perspective, Su Wan had always been bold. It was fine for her to be outside by herself, but what if the kind and weak Su Yu went out in the middle of the night and something happened to her? Therefore, if you could be a gentle white lotus, don't let others know that you're a masculine woman. Although roses had thorns, men felt that white roses were weak and red roses were dangerous. Okay. It's all my fault. Seeing Su Wan and Xing Yi opposing each other, Su Yu immediately tried to smooth things over. Right, Su Wan, thank you for bringing Xiao Wan back. It's what I should do. Su Wan knelt down and gently helped Su Wan change her shoes. Are your feet okay? I'll bring you upstairs to change your dressing. Seeing Su Wan's gentle gaze, Su Wan subconsciously softened her expression. Emin, let's go, ah. Before she finished speaking, her entire body was already carried by Su Rui. Be good. It's inconvenient for your legs and feet. Don't move around. Su Wan said this while carrying Su Wan up the stairs. Su Yu stared dumbfoundedly at Su Wan's actions. So Su Wan liked Xiao Wan. No wonder but Xiao Wan was Xing Yi's fiancé. Thinking of this, Su Yu immediately turned around nervously and carefully looked at Xing Yi's expression. Xing Yi, don't misunderstand. Xiao Wan, she's injured. It's inconvenient for her to move around. Ha. Xing Yi couldn't help but smile seeing Su Yu explaining for Su Wan nervously. He stood in front of Su Yu and stared into her eyes. Su Yu, are you worried about Su Wan or me? Su Yu looked nervously at the man in front of her. Xing Yi, don't look at me like that. You're Xiao Wan's fiancé. I really hope that you guys can get along well. Really? Didn't I tell you why I got engaged to her? That's because I thought the person from 3 years ago was her. In reality, the person who sent me to the hospital 3 years ago was you. Xing Yi had sent people to investigate this. The person who appeared in the hospital was Su Yu without a doubt. But he hated himself for thinking that person was Su Wan when he was with Su Wan 2 years ago. Because Su Wan also went to the place where he got into an accident 3 years ago, he was certain that the person was Su Wan. This was really an annoying misunderstanding. He skillfully carried Su Wan to the bed in the bedroom and turned to get the medicine box. How do you know where the medical kit is? Su Wan widened her eyes and looked at Su Rui. Su Wan was already very curious that he could find her bedroom. Because I'm your man. Su Wan lifted his brows at Su Wan proudly. Don't talk about your habit of putting things there. I even know how you like to kick the blanket when you sleep and how much you like to bathe. Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wan's face turned red. She sat on the bed and grabbed the corner of the quilt with both hands, muttering in a low voice, Then tell me, what do I like to do in the future? Ahem. Hearing Su Wan's words, Su Rui mysteriously smiled. What? You're starting to believe me. I'm just asking. Can't I ask? You don't have to answer me if you don't want to. Chapter 434. Su Rui couldn't help but smile seeing that Su Wan turned her face to the side, looking a bit unhappy. Good girl. I'll tell you okay. Saying this, he gently grabbed Su Wan's feet and pushed her dress up a bit. Hey, don't touch me. Su Wan immediately tightened her grip on her gown, her entire face thoroughly red. It was rare to see his wife this shy. Su Rui's gaze flickered and he said slyly, What are you shy about? Which part of your body haven't I seen before? There's a small red mole on your chest, and there's also a shallow scar on your back. You told me that you cut yourself in the villa when you were a child. At that time, no one was home, and there was a lot of blood. Later, a scar was left. Su Rui's gaze darkened. Wife, it must have been hard on you. Su Wan was completely dumbstruck hearing Su Rui's words. Because every word he said was true. She subconsciously touched her back. Because the scar was on her back, she wouldn't be able to notice it even if she wore an off-shoulder dress. That's right. All these years, no matter if it was Su Qiqiao or Qin Shiyong, they didn't notice the scar. They didn't even know that she almost died in the villa. Su Wan endured the bitterness in her heart and looked up at Su Rui, her gaze dazzling. Su Rui, you really came from the future. Su Rui grabbed Su Wan's hands tightly. Wife, I know you're really sad right now. You might not be able to get over Xing Yi, but people will inevitably encounter a lot of setbacks in their lives, no matter if it's in their relationship or career. Don't be sad or extreme because you still have a really beautiful future. You'll have a good husband, your own home, your own children. Will even have a cute granddaughter. Cough. Although she was a brat. Children and grandchildren. Blissful. Wasn't this the blissful life she had been praying for? It's like a dream. Su Wan murmured to herself, Su Rui, even if what you said is true, can you tell me why Xing Yi likes Su Yu and not me? This was a hurdle that Su Wan couldn't cross. It was the first time in his life that he had devoted himself to her. It was really hard not to think about it. Su Rui sighed hearing Su Wan's words. He naturally wouldn't tell Su Wan that Xing Yi liked Su Yu and that he loved her to death. That was because of the plot. The male and female lead were attracted to each other. Saying it like that was too cruel. Actually, when Xing Yi was with you in the beginning, he mistook you for Su Yu. 3 years ago, Xing Yi had an accident while climbing the mountain and was saved by Su Yu. He was unconscious at the time and only saw her once. He vaguely remembered that person's face. When he returned to Yun City, he recognized you in school and thought that you were that person. Although Xing family was also a big family in Yunqing, Xing Yi grew up in his maternal grandfather's home when he was young. He only returned to Yunqing after that accident 3 years ago and then encountered Su Wan. This kind of plot arrangement seemed to be specially designed to trap Su Wan. Su Wan froze again after hearing Su Rui's words. 3 years ago, Xing Yi never mentioned what happened 3 years ago to her. He didn't in the past and he definitely wouldn't mention it now or in the future, right? But, why was he so sure that the person who saved him was Su Yu? What a joke. If I said that I was the person who saved him 3 years ago, Su Rui, would you believe me? Su Wan suddenly looked up at Su Rui with sparkling eyes. Su Rui froze but he subconsciously nodded. I believe you. No matter what you say or do, I'll believe you. Ha! Hearing Su Rui's reply, Su Wan suddenly laughed, tears involuntarily flowing out of her eyes. I believe you too. I believe you because I came from my future. Because you're the person I've been searching for. It's you. Su Rui, I'm really happy. Su Wan suddenly opened her arms and hugged Su Rui tightly. He's your future. This was like a beautiful dream that she didn't want to wake up from. You're not allowed to leave. Don't wake up. It was late at night. Su Wan was still holding onto Su Rui's hand, muttering in a daze. The stronger a girl was on the surface, the more fragile her heart was. Su Rui looked at Su Wan's face and subconsciously lifted his other hand to smooth her furrowed brows. Wife, sleep well. I'll always be here. The next morning, when Su Wan woke up, the first thing she saw was Su Rui lying on the side of her bed asleep. It wasn't a dream. Su Wan blinked and thought of her actions yesterday. She immediately covered her whole body with the quilt in annoyance. She must have gone crazy or was infected by him. She actually believed that this man was her future husband. But, seeing Su Rui's sleeping face, Su Wan couldn't help but stare. He treated her really well and didn't have any ill intentions. Even if he was such a great hacker, he wouldn't care about Su family's assets. Could it be that he was an idiot who gave without asking for anything in return? Idiot. Su Wan couldn't help but lean over and whisper. She raised her finger and gently touched Su Rui's face. Seeing that Su Rui was still sleeping soundly, she smiled and tiptoed out of bed, rushing into the bathroom. Hearing Su Wan close the bathroom door, Su Rui slowly opened his eyes. Stupid wife, who's the idiot between you and me? By the time Su Wan changed her clothes and came out, Su Rui was gone. Su Wan looked at the neatly folded blanket and froze for a while. That sudden feeling of emptiness was really strange. Su Wan sighed and turned to go downstairs. Su Yu was the only one downstairs. Breakfast was still Aunt Zhang's best Western-style breakfast. Staring at the same breakfast, Su Wan suddenly thought of the food Su Rui made yesterday morning. Su Yu said he made delicious food but she didn't get to eat a single bite. She suddenly felt really annoyed. Xiao Wan, you're up. Teacher Su, Su Yu already knew that Su Rui was teaching at Su Wan's school because Su Rui told her to tell Su Wan to see him at school. I'm not eating anymore. Like usual, Su Wan grabbed her bag and was about to leave. Xiao Wan. Su Yu couldn't help but call her. You and Su Rui, you too, that's my business. Why do you care so much? Hearing Su Yu's words, Su Wan couldn't help but turn to look at her. You really think you're my sister? No, Xiao Wan, you and Xing Yi. Xing Yi and I have our own business. Su Yu, you better remember your identity. Saying this, Su Wan turned and left without hesitation. Su Yu sighed softly as she watched Su Wan's departing figure. Actually, how could she not know that Xing Yi liked her? But he was Xiao Wan's fiancé. Su Yu didn't want to destroy Su Wan's happiness. Now that Su Wan and Su Rui's relationship was unclear, she started to worry about Xing Yi. Compared to the female lead's indecisiveness, Su Wan, who was already in the car, was also feeling uneasy. She always thought that she couldn't forgive Xing Yi's betrayal. Not even if she died. Chapter 435. Su Wan came to school as usual. As soon as she entered the classroom, she felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange. Xiao Wan, your breakfast. Xue Hui had come earlier than Su Wan today. She smiled and pointed at the piping hot breakfast on Su Wan's table. Adonis sent it. Adonis didn't make it himself, right? Hearing Xue Hui's words, Su Wan just noticed that there was a lunchbox on her table. It was giving off a nice fragrance. He sent it. No wonder the atmosphere in the classroom was so strange today. Su Wan sat back in her seat. Xue Hui smiled and moved closer. Xiao Wan, you and my Adonis, I mean you and teacher Su. Saying this, Xue Hui giggled and made a pair gesture. Are you two dating? Dating? Su Wan froze. What did dating feel like? She had been with Xing Yi for 2 years and they had been very plain. Su Wan felt satisfied that Xing Yi could tolerate her and care for her. But now, Su Wan looked down and smiled. Xue Hui, what are you saying? I have a boyfriend. You're talking about Xing Yi. Xue Hui couldn't help but twitch her lips. I left early yesterday, but I'm not blind. Anyone could see that he and Su Yu were flirting with each other. You should dump such a playboy. Look at our teacher Su. He's good at both literature and martial arts. He even knows how to cook. He's such a great husband. I'm so jealous of you. Jealous? Su Wan couldn't help but look at the female students who were whispering to each other. Were they jealous too? Thinking of this, Su Wan seemed to feel even happier. She ate all the food Su Rui sent over. Speaking of which, it tasted really good. It was her favorite flavor. So, just as he said, he understood her better than anyone else. He understood her, and he was her. Seeing Su Wan hiding in her seat and smiling foolishly, Xue Hui moved closer again. Xiao Wan, say, are you moved? You're moved, right? I told you that Xing Yi isn't your match. Sigh. My eyes are really sharp and my teeth are hard. Xing Yi, hearing Xue Hui's words, Su Wan's smile stiffened. Xue Hui, do you remember the injured person we met when we went to the outskirts of B City to play 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Xue Hui furrowed her brows and thought for a while. Is it the person covered in blood at the foot of the mountain? Now that she thought about it, it was quite scary. So you remember. Su Wan's lips curled into a sneer. Xing Yi, I didn't expect us to meet 3 years ago. You always thought it was Su'er who saved you. But you don't know that I was the one who gave you first aid, and I was the one who called the emergency number. Xiao Wan, why did you suddenly ask about this? Xue Hui was still in a daze. She and Su Wan had known each other for a long time. 3 years ago, the two of them went hiking in B City. In the end, they encountered a person covered in blood at the foot of the mountain. Thinking of this, Xue Hui couldn't help but admire Su Wan's courage. That person looked so scary and was about to die, but Su Wan dared to give him emergency treatment and even helped him stop the bleeding from the most dangerous wound. Later, Su Wan called the emergency number, and after confirming that the person's life wasn't in danger, the two left. Xue Hui had always felt that it wasn't worth it. Xiao Wanwan spent so much effort to save a passerby, but she didn't even get a chance to be thanked by that person. She was so cold even when she was saving someone. As expected of my Xiao Wanwan, sigh. In short, amusing people like us can't understand the goddess's world. Many people said that Su Wan was willful and arrogant, but Xue Hui saw a really kind and reliable Su Wan. That's why I said that such a kind little Wanwan is a perfect match for our family's all-rounder Prince Charming Su. As for Xing Yi, that playboy, who cares? School life was originally boring to Su Wan, but ever since Su Rui appeared in class, Su Wan immediately felt that the boring and dry class became a lot more interesting. This feeling was really strange. This was the first time in her life that she knew there was such an emotion called being deeply concerned. After school, Su Wan took the test papers and went to Su Rui's office like yesterday. This time, Su Rui had finished his work. He wore his coat and stood at the door waiting for Su Wan. I lost my computer last night. I'm going to buy another one. Come with me. I'll swipe my card this time. Saying this, Su Rui waved his new bank card. So people from different time spaces can get a bank card from different time spaces. Let me see your ID. As Su Wan spoke, she raised her chin with a smile and waved her little hand in front of Su Rui. General Su was speechless. Right. How was he supposed to explain? Was he supposed to say that Su Su helped him get the ID? Cough. This isn't mine. It's my friend's. My friend helped me get it. Su Rui didn't want to lie to Su Wan, so he could only be vague. You have a friend. How come I don't know who it is? At this time, Su Wan's gaze towards Su Rui gradually became suspicious. It's Su Su. It's the Su Su I told you about. Seeing that his wife's expression wasn't good, General Su, who was a wife's slave, immediately surrendered. Su Su is actually my colleague and future colleague. In the future, you and I will be working in the same place as him, but that person, he likes me. Su Wan thought of what Su Rui said last time and immediately probed with a question. No, how could he like you? Su Rui heard Su Wan's words and immediately denied it. Love rivals and whatnot were the most annoying. Oh, he doesn't like me. Does he like you? Su Wan narrowed her eyes and looked at Su Rui craftily. Su Rui was speechless. Okay, he likes you. But why would you like him? No. I think Teacher Su is really nice. He's handsome and most importantly, he treats people very gently. Su Wan thought of the Su Su in her memory. That person looked really noble and gentle. Hearing Su Wan complimenting Su Su, Su Rui panicked a bit. He took a step forward and pulled Su Wan into his embrace. Wife, I can be really gentle too. Don't you think I'm more handsome than Su Su? Su Wan couldn't help but smile seeing Su Rui's eager expression. This person was really interesting. Did he feel uneasy just because of these words? Is this what love is? Su Wan put away her thoughts and struggled out of Su Rui's embrace. You're handsome. You're the most handsome, okay? I made an appointment with Xing Yi today. Go buy a computer yourself. You made an appointment with him. Su Rui froze. Just how stubborn was his wife going to be? She was harmed so badly by the scumbag yesterday. It seemed like he should quickly execute Xing Yi. Anyways, in this world, the world wouldn't disappear even if Xing Yi died. Seeing Su Rui in a daze, Su Wan's gaze flickered. She stuffed the papers into his hands. Go buy a computer and wait for me at the restaurant yesterday. I'll go find you later, and eat with you. Saying this, Su Wan quickly turned and left. Chapter 436. It was a Western restaurant near Xingming. This was the favorite place for couples in school. Su Wan and Xing Yi were frequent customers here too. By the time Su Wan arrived at the usual place, Xing Yi had been sitting there for a while. Xing Yi liked to sit by the window, so he reserved this spot. The sunset shone on his handsome face through the glass window. Su Wan glanced at Xing Yi. Speaking of which, Xing Yi was a rare handsome man, but compared to Su Rui, he seemed to be lacking a lot. Not only his appearance but also his aura. Of course, the most important thing was that Xing Yi and Su Rui were two completely different people. You're here. Xing Yi looked at her after feeling Su Wan's gaze. Sit. I ordered food for you. No need. Su Wan sat across from Xing Yi. I'm going to eat with someone. I came here today to make things clear. Let's cancel the engagement. Xing Yi had been conflicted about this, but Su Wan was the first to say it. Xing Yi froze hearing Su Wan's words. After realizing that he recognized the wrong person, Xing Yi had been thinking about canceling the engagement with Su Wan. But after all, they had been together for 2 years. He understood Su Wan's situation in the Su family. Firstly, he couldn't bear to do it. Secondly, because of Su Yu's identity as an illegitimate daughter, Xing Yi was afraid that if he cancelled the engagement, Su Wan and others would push all the blame onto Su Yu. Maybe this was the real reason why Xing Yi didn't mention cancelling the engagement with Su Wan. He had thought of everything for Su Yu, but he hadn't considered anything for Su Wan. This was the difference between love and not love. Xiao Wan, are you serious? Maybe happiness came too suddenly. After Xing Yi froze, he snapped out of his trance and looked at Su Wan with uncertainty. He didn't know if she was being sincere or if she was testing him with ulterior motives. I'm serious. Do you think I'm joking? Su Wan lifted her brows arrogantly. Xing Yi, I used to think that I couldn't live without you. But now, I realize that I was wrong from the start. I want to hold on to the gentleness and tolerance you give me and the sincere care you give me. But now, you're starting to hate me and even hate me. You haven't cared for me in a long time and you haven't smiled sincerely at me. What's the point of holding on to this relationship? In the past, Su Wan didn't understand. She felt that she must receive an equal return for her efforts. But now, Su Wan thought it through. Love was much more complicated and rich than he had imagined. Love cannot be measured by how much. If he loved her, then so be it. Even if he gave up everything in exchange for a smile, it was still worth it. Xiao Wan. Xing Yi's eyes revealed a trace of guilt. He recalled the first time he extended his hand to Su Wan 2 years ago. At that time, she widened her eyes and looked at him with a clear but astonished gaze. At that moment, his heart had been moved. Was it to repay her for saving his life, or was it because he felt sorry for the innocent and careful girl? Even now, Xing Yi wasn't sure. Maybe this was the difference between men and women. Men's love came and went quickly. In front of their new and old love, they would easily waver. They would always think that they wouldn't hurt anyone. But in the end, he still became a heartless man. As for women, once they fell in love, they would try their best to love someone even if they ended up injured all over. Xing-yi, let's just do this. Breaking up is a release for both of us. Su-won nodded at Xing-yi and then got up without any reluctance. She turned to leave. Saying goodbye to this unhappy relationship, she wanted to leave freely and elegantly. Xing-yi, goodbye. Su-won pushed the door open and walked out of the Western restaurant. She couldn't help but smile as she looked at the evening glow and the red sunset. If she didn't say goodbye to the past, how would there be a future? Watching the smile on Su-won's lips, Su-su silently turned and left at the street corner not far away. Young master. An exquisite-looking girl quickly caught up to him. Young master, why did you give up? You clearly had a chance this time. Xiao Shi. Su-su interrupted Xian Yuanshi's words. I didn't give up. Really? I just learned what love is. Some love could be watched from afar. He could fight with Su-rui. After all, in this world, he had too many advantages that Su-rui didn't have. But he didn't. After meeting Su-won for the first time that day, Su-su had made up his mind. He couldn't do that again, even if it was in an illusion. He could act as a perfect lover or a gentle prince, but these weren't him. They weren't the real him. Was he going to use a fake version of himself to deceive Su-won again? He couldn't. His biggest regret was that he had once so heartlessly deceived a person who should not have been deceived the most. But now, he had no regrets. Really. Although this was just a virtual world, Su-su felt gratified to see Su-won in this world walking on a different path. Su-won. Love is really a wonderful thing. You and Su-rui are really happy. I wish you guys the best. I think that one day in the future, I'll be as happy as you guys too. I don't want to interfere with other people's feelings or destroy their hard-earned happiness. I firmly believe that everyone has their own happiness. As long as everyone waits, that person, that moment, will come. When Su-won went to the restaurant yesterday, Su-rui was still sitting in the private room. There were 2 laptops on the table. Seeing Su-won's confused gaze, Su-rui shrugged and smiled. The people in this world are really kind. They didn't keep the money they picked up. Su-won was speechless. Such a high-end laptop was enough to be sentenced. Did he think that everyone dared to break the law? I've already broken up with Xing-yi. Su-won sat in front of Su-rui and looked at him seriously. Su-rui, did you come from the future to make me break up with Xing-yi? Su-rui coughed. Wife, it's not good that you're so smart. I just wanted to see you, the past you. Then now that you've seen me, you've really helped me. Su-rui, are you going to leave? Su-won had a feeling that Su-rui would leave and return to the future. Hearing Su-won's words, Su-rui's expression changed and his tone turned a bit deeper. Wife, I won't leave you. Never. In the distant future, we'll be together forever. Really? Then I'm relieved. Su-won heaved a sigh of relief and smiled at Su-rui. Then, before I leave, my man, can you do something for me? What? Su-rui subconsciously asked. Help me beat up Xing-yi. Su-won tilted her head and smiled at Su-rui. Although we've broken up, Xing-yi, I, Su-won, am a merchant's daughter. How can I make a loss? What you owe me, please return it all to me. It was night and the wind was strong. General Su naturally caught Xing-yi in the wilderness and beat him up according to Su-won's instructions. Seeing Xing-yi curled up and covered in blood, Su-won finally walked over in satisfaction. Using the faint moonlight, disbelief flickered through Xing-yi's eyes when he saw the familiar face. Xiao-won, why, Su-won smiled and knelt down. I really shouldn't have saved you 3 years ago. Now, I'm just letting everything return to the beginning. Here. Saying this, Su-won poked Xingyi's wounds. These wounds are the same as back then. Of course, I'll call Su-yu this time and tell her to save you. That way, she'll be your benefactor again. You guys can finally be together. Congratulations. Saying this, Su-won leisurely stood up. Su-rui, let's go. I'm really tired. Carry me home. Hearing Su-won's words, Su-rui immediately bent down and let Su-won jump onto his back. This time, Su-won didn't hesitate. She hugged Su-rui's neck tightly. Seeing the two of them leave, Xingyi's vision started to blur. However, his memory suddenly became extremely clear. Xiao-won. There's a corpse here. I'm so scared. Let's call the police. Don't be noisy. He's still alive. I'll go take a look. He's fine now. I called the ambulance. The people from the scenic area will be here soon. Shui, let's go. Xiao-won, you're covered in blood. You're not going to wait for him to wake up. You should at least let him say thank you to you. I don't need it. As proud as she was, she didn't need other people's thanks, understanding, or recognition. This was Su-won. Xingyi's vision gradually turned blood red. Before he fainted, he saw Su-yu walk to him with a pale face. Ah! Xingyi, is that you? What's wrong? Su-yu was out of her wits. She frantically tried to move Xingyi's body, but it made him frown in pain. So he didn't recognize the wrong person the first time. The second time was when he really did recognize the wrong person. Right now, Xingyi's emotions were complicated. Su-won didn't care about this. She pressed her face against Su-rui's back and slowly closed her eyes. Su-rui, it's great knowing you. This is the lovable Ling Isu. Get up. Get up. If you don't get up, you're going to get rusty. Ling Isu's smart alarm clock rang by his ears. Su-rui woke up from his sleep. He habitually reached out and pulled Su-won into his embrace. Wife, I love you. He really loved her. So mushy early in the morning. Ling Isu, who had sneaked into the bedroom, blinked her crystal-clear eyes and looked at Su-rui in disdain. Damn! Su-rui jumped at the little loli's voice. In the next second, he shouted with a dark expression, Ling Li. Take your brat away. Do you not want to live anymore? Sniff. Hearing Su-rui's voice, Ling Isu pouted and looked at Su-rui with tears in her eyes. Father has eloped with mother. Even grandfather and grandmother don't want Isu anymore. I'm going to become an orphan that no one wants. I know how to warm the bed and I'm cute. Who's going to be my sugar daddy? I'm really obedient. Su-rui was speechless. That's why Ling Li, you're a highly intelligent male lead. Just how did you raise your daughter? Okay, stop pretending to be pitiful. Your mother has used this too many times already. At this time, the commotion in the room finally woke Su-won up. She rubbed her eyes and was about to sit up. Wife, slow down. Your body is more important. Su-rui immediately helped Su-won up with a nervous expression. Her petite body was still pregnant. This was Su-rui and Su-won's child and also a new member of their big family. Sniff, I didn't do it on purpose. Seeing that Su-won had also woken up, Ling Isu quietly climbed onto the bed and extended her chubby little hand, gently touching Su-won's belly. Hello, uncle. I'm the cute Isu. I'm here to see you again. Mwah. Uncle, come out quickly. I'll protect you when I grow up. Su Rui and Su Wan were speechless. This child was really the same as Su Xiaosu when she was young, always dreaming of being a big sister. After finally getting rid of the clingy little loli, Su Rui got up and helped Su Wan to the bathroom. I haven't become a cripple yet, right? Seeing Su Rui's nervous expression, Su Wan couldn't help but smile. I like to serve you. That's fine, right? Su Rui raised his head and looked at Su Wan with sparkling eyes. After coming out of that dream, Su Rui felt that he wasn't good enough to Su Wan. He told himself that he had to treat her better, 10 times, 100 times better. Having someone to serve you is the best. Sensing the deep affection in Su Rui's eyes, Su Wan smiled. Last night, she had a dream. She dreamed of the past and also dreamed of Su Rui. Chapter 437. I've been organizing the information recently. If there's any mistake, please reply here. Lost Time Space, Headquarters Building. Boss. As the new department head of the Destruction Department, Su Mengzhu was actually very afraid of the big boss of the headquarters, Su Su. God bless, it was said that the big boss was very strict. She was really forced to do something beyond her abilities. Ever since the new boss took over and all the departments were reformed, many senior members left or went on leave. Especially the Destruction Department. EXAN retired to travel around the world while Ding Jijia, that unreliable person, acted shamelessly and didn't want to take over as the new department head. In the end, she, the latecomer, became the department head just like that. Su Mengzhu. Hearing Su Mengzhu's voice, the man sitting on the swivel chair raised his head. His face was as graceful as jade and could be said to be extremely handsome. Su Mengzhu was dazed. So the rumors were true. Boss Su was really a male god among male gods. It's me. I am Su Mengzhu. Su Mengzhu nervously placed the documents in her hands on Su Su's table. This is the summary of our Destruction Department's work for this season. Oh, put it here. Su Su nodded and continued to look at the documents on his table. Su Mengzhu, I'm so nervous. Should I say goodbye now? Or should I continue to stand here and wait for the boss to finish his work before listening to the Emperor's will? Just as she was in a dilemma, the door to the big boss room was pushed open again. A black-clothed girl walked in happily. Young master, I'm back. Xian Yuancher was used to reporting to Su Su after coming back from every world. Even though he had taken over Qi Yu's position and became the big boss of the headquarters, she still continued this habit. It was said that cultivation was timeless. In the lost time space, the concept of time was even more blurry. In these years, Xian Yuancher had experienced many strange worlds and met all sorts of people. However, she still maintained her initial mood and only wanted to follow behind the young master. Hearing her voice, Su Su closed the documents in his hands and looked up with a rare smile. You're back so soon this time. Sigh, don't mention it. Xian Yuancher walked to Su Su's side and habitually sat on his desk. Young master, let me tell you, as soon as I arrived in that world, before I could do anything, the bug that broke the world's rules was killed by a space-time executioner. That executioner was really powerful. I thought he was too dangerous, so I didn't dare to stay in that world for long. Anyway, I finished the mission and came back. But I brought you something good this time. Look. As Xian Yuancher spoke, she took out a small box from her spatial bag. A very sweet smell came from the box. It was pastries. Su Mengzhu, who had been ignored for a long time, secretly sniffed. How fragrant. It must be a really delicious pastry. But that doesn't seem to be the point. More importantly, Boss Su actually liked to eat desserts. Oh my god, did I discover some big secret? Will I be killed to keep my mouth shut? Hey! Boss, can I go now? Su Mengzhu, who wanted to slip away, raised her hand pitifully and whispered weakly. HM. At this time, Xian Yuanshi just realized there was another person in the room. Young master, this is... Seeing that the person in front of her was unfamiliar, Xian Yuanshi couldn't help but look at Su Mengzhu curiously. She's the new director of the destruction department, Su Mengzhu. Su knew Xian Yuanshi's personality. She looked cold and aloof, but in reality, cultivators were all focused on cultivation and had pure thoughts. She wasn't really cold, she just wasn't used to interacting with strangers. Especially when she first came to the lost time space and started carrying out missions. She caused quite a bit of a joke in those high-tech time spaces. At that time, Su had to keep a close eye on every mission in the logistics department, afraid that Xian Yuanshi would cause trouble. However, years passed in the blink of an eye. Su seemed to have gotten used to these days. Even though he was a big boss now, he still couldn't help but check her mission records when she went out on missions. So she was the new director of the destruction department. Hearing Su's words, Xian Yuanshi immediately smiled happily at Su Mengzhu. Su Mengzhu. Ah, the same surname as Xiao Wan. What a coincidence. Oh right, where's Ding Jia? How did you get rid of her? You're so amazing. Su Mengzhu was speechless. Sister, what are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Okay. Do you have a grudge against Ding Jia? I'm not that amazing. It's all thanks to the seniors. I'll be leaving first. As she spoke, Su Mengzhu quickly turned around and ran away. Only when she ran out of the office door did Su Mengzhu suddenly realize, black-clothed girl. Black-clothed? Was that girl the legendary boss Su's girlfriend? She looked rather innocent and cute. Why did those seniors say she wasn't easy to deal with? She couldn't tell at all. Sigh. The world of the higher-ups was so complicated. After Su Mengzhu left, Xian Yuanshi turned around and looked at Su in confusion. Young master, am I that scary? Why does she seem to be scared? Ah. Su smiled and took the dessert box from Xian Yuanshi's hands. She's just too nervous. It's none of your business. Let me see what good food you brought back for me this time. As he spoke, Su had already opened the small box. Inside was a gorgeous rainbow cake. Young master, aren't you surprised? This is made with a special spice from that world. You can't eat it anywhere else. Saying this, Xian Yuanshi felt really proud. She was a descendant of the Xian Yuan family. Although she was abandoned, she still controlled the rare time-space law. She could even turn herself into a spatial storage container. In the entire lost time-space, other than the boss with the highest authority, she was the only one who could bring anything from any world back. Plus, she wasn't affected by the time-space law. Back then, when Su brought her back to the lost time-space, Xian Yuanshi had been at a loss too. Then, when she became a cake maker in a certain world, she fell deeply in love with those exquisite, cute and incomparably sweet pastries. These things didn't exist in Songyue mainland. Even now, Xian Yuanshi still remembered when she came out of that world and placed the first dessert she made in her life in front of Su. Su smiled at her. Xiao Shi is amazing. You make really good food. Seeing Su eat all the desserts she made, from then on, Xian Yuanshi walked on the path of doing missions while collecting desserts from different time spaces. Poor boss Su. He didn't like desserts at all. Hey! But every time Xiao Shi blinked her bright eyes and looked at him with anticipation, Su really didn't know how to reject her. especially when he flipped through the mission records. He saw that every time she entered a mission, no matter what identity she had, she would specially go to all places to collect special desserts for him. Su Su saw all of this. Xian Yuanshi never took the initiative to say these things. Young master, look at this dessert. It's so strange. I bought it on the way back. Actually, she spent a long time begging for that dessert from a top pastry chef in a certain mission world. It didn't matter to Su Su if the dessert was delicious or not. But he couldn't bear to reject Xiao Shi's kind intentions. Even if it was a strange dessert, he would enjoy eating it and then tell her that it tasted great. He ate and ate like this for many years. Su Su suddenly realized that he seemed to have fallen in love with desserts and pastries. No, more accurately speaking, he enjoyed the sweet feeling. There was a person in this world who would follow you without any complaints or regrets. She would do everything to the best of her ability, but she wouldn't say anything in front of you to take credit, Xiao Shi. After eating the dessert, Su Su looked at Xian Yuanshi. I'm going to the machine spacetime tomorrow. Are you coming? Machine Spacetime is a spacetime full of robots, and Su Wan and Su Rui's family live there. Young master, are you going to see Xiao Wan and Su Rui? Speaking of which, I haven't seen them in a long time. Their sons are getting married, right? I'm so envious of them. That world is really interesting. People can choose to have a mechanical body and never grow old. It feels so good to be together as a family. Yeah. Never grow old. It sounded interesting, but if there was no one you loved by your side and no family, so what if you could live forever? Maybe Chi Yute saw through this. That's why he left the lost spacetime and exiled himself. But who knows if he found his happiness in the sea of people? Young master, I didn't even have time to prepare a gift. What should I do now? Xian Yuanshi was starting to feel annoyed. Would it be rude of her to go empty-handed? Why don't I give my cultivation secret manual to young Master Su? Would Su Rui fight her to the death if he found out? Just as Xian Yuanshi was feeling sad, Su Su suddenly stood up and wrapped his arms around her petite body. I've prepared the best gift. They'll like it. Young master. Xian Yuanshi froze and stared at Su Su dumbly. As usual, Su Su smiled faintly at her. If there was someone who silently accompanied you for many years and made you feel really happy, then you must cherish them. The most beautiful love in the world wasn't vowing eternal love and going through life and death together. It was giving silently without any complaints or regrets. Su Wan, you and I might be the same type of person. We're used to being passive. Neither of us is willing to take a step forward. That's why we're fated to miss each other. But Su Rui and Xiao Shi were the type of people who wouldn't give up once they made up their minds. It's our fortune to be able to meet someone like this. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.